Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Grand Rising, Cleopadra Sophia the Bodhi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Hope your week was wonderful.
These time periods seem to be, I don't know if they're getting shorter or they're getting longer, but this is like, I feel like I've learned 100 years worth of information since we talked on Tuesday. So I'm
Oh,
really excited.
wow.
Yeah, it's a huge movement in the energy, which is really, really good. So, this is another blind topic to you, but this is definitely something that I've been discussing in the background for a while. So, I'm really excited to go into this with as much detail as I can give you.
Wonderful. Yeah. So I think take it away.
Yeah. So, okay. So, one thing in Daniel chapter 12, there's a prophecy of Michael the archangel. And so in this particular prophecy, it says that the from the day the daily sacrifice is taken away until the time of the end is 1290 days. And it says basically, blessed is he who can get to 1335 days, because at that point that's when something else is going to happen. And so a few years ago, obviously, I had read that and I was like, well, what does that mean? Of course, there's lots of dates in the Bible: 1290, 1260, especially in Revelations, they're talking about 42, and it's all kinds of different days that they're talking about and different time periods. And so, what a lot of the Protestant Christians, these watchers, these radical rapturists, I think it's probably the best way to describe them, is they are looking for these dates to correlate with something that is to come. But I had mentioned, I figured out a long time ago that all this stuff had already happened, because one thing Jesus says is that he came to fulfill all the prophecies, even the prophecies that were going to be written after he died. He literally came to fill all of them. And that's really actually true. But even though these Protestants, they call themselves Christians, these radical rapturists, they don't believe Jesus. He said he came to fulfill all the prophecies. So they're looking somewhere else other than to Jesus to fulfill all of these prophecies. So, okay, if the daily sacrifice was taken away, from the point the daily sacrifice taken away until the end time is 1290. Now, it has been exactly 1 week since we started this planetary month. Literally, one to today is Friday. And so one of the themes of the planetary month is the Sabbath, and really taking the Sabbath seriously. So there's a particular Sabbath this month, which is November the 6th, that is an extremely important Sabbath. This Sabbath is important because it is 60 days exactly from the start of the lunar year. Now, that 60-day period, now it's crazy because I remember talking about this almost 60 days ago, obviously, and we're almost to that point. So this 60-day period is at the end of the 60 days, that's when the worms, the Shan worms, are going to go and report back to the creator what is going to happen. Now, we haven't been doing anything special to do all of this stuff to prepare, because I feel like we're already prepared. I mentioned it. I told people do like a parasite cleanse or whatever. Just get yourself together, right? Just in general, be a good person, and you really don't have anything to worry about. So we're coming up on that time. And of course, like I said, that day lands on the Sabbath, November the 6th, 2025. So what does that mean? What does that have to do with anything? So from how do I even get into this? That day is important because it's a Sabbath. The Sabbath is important because the Sabbath has to be observed. That's one of the main rules in the 10 Commandments all through the Bible, is to honor the Sabbath. Honor the Sabbath. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what does that mean? Because a few weeks ago, I said I'm going to stop using the word peace, because what does peace even mean? Like, people are saying they want peace. Like me, I'm saying, oh, I want peace. But what does peace mean? So I was like, I need to put a pause on using that word until I know what that means. So it's the same thing with Sabbath. I don't talk a lot about the Sabbath, but the reason why we do these talks on Tuesday and Thursday, on Tuesday and Friday, is because Tuesday is far enough early in the week that it won't disrupt my Sabbath. Sabbath is on Thursdays this year because we observe the Sabbath, as I mentioned in a previous talk. The Sabbath is not the same every single year. It depends on the day that the sun changes station. So it's an emotional holiday, meaning the Sabbath is not intellectualized. It's something that you see when the sun changes stations. It does weird stuff in the sky at the beginning of the year to start our year. And that day that it does the weird stuff is the last Sabbath of the year. So um when the Bible really talks about observing the Sabbath, they're talking about observing the last Sabbath, because you have to observe the last Sabbath in order to know when your Sabbaths are for the year. And as I've mentioned, as I've worked on this calendar, the Jubilee Zulkin timeline, whatever calendar, the Sabbaths line up to be on typically extremely important days. Like, other things are going on, like holidays, like it just lines up to a lot of things that are like really important every year. And the Sabbath is not the same day every year. So last year the Sabbath was on a Wednesday. This year the Sabbath is on a Thursday. We don't know when the Sabbath is going to be next year because we have to observe it in the sky. And I started observing it on St. Patrick's Day to see. It's not going to be happening before St. Patrick's Day. I know that for a fact. So I start observing on St. Patrick's Day. It might be on the 17th. It might be on the 18th. It might be on the 19th. What I noticed is, since I started observing it, it's gone back to regular order. And what is regular order for the Sabbath? Regular order for the Sabbath is for the sun to change stations on the day that the sun enters Aries at 0 degrees. That's typically what I observed for a few years in a row. It was the same. The first year I observed it, it was way different. It was not regular, but for the last 2 years, it's been pretty regular. So that could be because we're observing it, or I don't know. I can't tell you why, but I'm just saying that's the way it works. So this year's Sabbath is on a Thursday, all the way until at least St. Patrick's Day. So I've already done the part of observing the last Sabbath to make sure that we can set the calendar properly. And the reason why it matters, just briefly, is because if you observe the Sabbath properly, which is again the last day of the year, and it sets the Sabbath for the next year, you can set up your Hebrew calendar properly. So the Hebrew calendar, the ones that the is said by the Jews, is not proper because they're not observing the Sabbath the way that they're supposed to. Now, mind you, they got a whole book. Um, what is that stupid book called that everybody talks about? I can't remember the name of the book, but they got a whole book to tell them how to do every little thing a certain way except observe the Sabbath. Like, it's just something, again, it's wrong. So we don't have to be wrong, we can be right. And the Hebrew Israelites, they observe the Sabbath whatever the Jews say. So nobody is actually doing the work of observing the sun to see when the sun moves so that you can document it properly. Okay, so since I've been observing the last Sabbath, um, basically what I would do on those days. Now, this is like a whole week sometimes I would be observing because I started earlier because I didn't know exactly what I was looking for. And of course, the people who I learned how to observe the Sabbath from, they weren't also looking at the astrology. So they were just literally looking in the sky to see when it changed. Well, I started hooking into the astrology, and I went back and looked and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, it's this day, it's that day. And it's got to be based on something that's in the astrology. It wouldn't make sense if it wasn't. So I'm waiting for the day to come. And what do I do on those days? In the middle of the day at 12 noon, I go out and I measure the sun. I measure the sun at 12 o'clock. I measure the sun at 12:15. I measure the sun at 12:30. I measure the sun at 12:45. If between 12, 12:15, 12:30, and 12:45, it doesn't just look normal, which by now I know what that means. It basically, it shouldn't, I mean, because you know how if you know how a sundial works, right? That's basically what I'm doing. I'm looking at it as if I'm looking at a sundial. So if it doesn't move normally, like to the 1 o'clock position normally, then I know that that's the last day of the year. And I swear to goodness, it does weird things. Last year, I mean, this year, when I observed it, I was a little bit unsure. I was like, wait a minute, like maybe I did something wrong, because the last 2 years before this year, I was in a location where I could access the sun easily, and it wasn't confusing, and I was at home, even though it's like hard, but because there's not a lot of sun here, it was still regular. I could put it down, walk away, and I wasn't worried about anything. This year, I was somewhere else, and I was like, okay, I have to do this, even though I'm not at home. I still have to figure out how to do this. So I had all my materials. It's not like a lot of stuff. I had all my materials, but I was still a little bit confused. And so I had set it down, and then I came back and marked it again. And I was like, I need the sun to do something really drastic for me to know that it moved. And it did something completely, the sun don't move like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is the day, I'm sure. Because again, it's like, how many people on the earth are looking for the sun to change stations? That's a very small group of people. So I have to make sure that it's right, because it affects the whole calendar, the feast days specifically. Because if you don't know your start of the year, the most important feast day is the Day of Atonement. That's the day that you commune with the Creator. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on with that, but this is already too much in the weeds for this story. So observing the Sabbath, for the last Sabbath, really ensure, like, it means that you're just basically sitting still in the same place in the middle of the day, just watching to see how the sun moves. That's literally what it is. But how do you translate that into every week? Because there's a Sabbath, there's a seventh day every single week. So what does that look like? That's the question that I have been asking. Now, put that aside for a second. Now, we're getting ready to go into the holiday season. I'm just going to mention this because it all like comes together. We're going into the holiday season. Every holiday season, I have had to run an operation. Now, I put links to the operations I've previously done on my page, and I'll link them in the thread for this talk afterwards. But 2022 was the very first operation I ran. And the operation was Operation Elvira, the Tiny Toons offensive. I gave it a whole thing. And basically what it was to kill people with love. Like, if you remember Elvira from the Tiny Toons, very underrated character, okay? This girl was nuts. Like, she's just nuts. But what did she do? She would lure in some poor unsuspecting animal. Then she would say, I'm taking you home with me. And she said, I'll hug you and kiss you and squeeze you to pieces. That's love, like extreme love, right? And so it was necessary because energetically, the holiday season is in Sagittarius season, obviously, mostly. Christmas specifically goes into Capricorn season, but the holiday season, basically, right before Thanksgiving, we enter Sagittarius season. Sagittarius is related to Jupiter. Jupiter is related to Zeus. This is our expansive. This is our Santa Claus. This is our gifts, everything that we want being given to us. This is the time when that's supposed to happen. We're supposed to be receiving. We're supposed to be having fun. We're supposed to be smiling and all of that. And so what does this false matrix American, whatever, these people, what do they always do? They get people fighting. What were people fighting over 2 years ago? Specifically, or in 2022, they were fighting over Meg the Boy Horse in Tory Lanez, and that whole shooting thing had just happened, or something was going on with that. That's all I can remember. Like something was going on with that in 2022. In 2023, it was Cardi B and Offset, and they were having some kind of a problem. They had a problem in 2022 as well, but in 2023, it came back up again. Meg the Boy Horse and Tory Lanez came back up again as well. So, I mean, I'm sure there was other things going on, but that was like the biggest thing going on in the Black community. Now, what happened in 2024? Well, as I mentioned in a previous talk, I had been asking since 2022 for Black people to sit it out and just sit back and relax and not get into these people's business. So last year, it didn't really work because there was still all of the, because we started the year in 2024 with Cat Williams opening that portal to hell, and a lot of stuff came out. And so basically, by the end of the year, it was after the election, like Kamala was out, and people were kind of like confused about what was going on, and it's just a lot of stuff, right? And so Black people had, that is when Black people started to slowly back their way out. And what was going on in the Black community specifically, you had the Beyonce Bowl, which is, you know, whatever, her always trying to get in the middle of it, but you had people looking at that. People was getting ready for Kendrick and the whole halftime show and all of that. And you had people doing a Black people were learning this hand dance, or this line dance called Boots on the Ground, with the fans and all of this stuff. So Black people had started to withdraw their energy from the system. And so as that was happening, they couldn't really run their normal campaign of hate and fighting and all of this stuff. It just didn't work because people were not like checked into the system for that to work. So now here we are in 2025. Another operation have to be run. I don't know exactly what it's called yet. I think it's going to be called Operation Daily Sacrifice. So now back to the Sabbath and the daily sacrifice. So I believe the daily sacrifice was, or rather, what I believe the daily sacrifice is in this case is the calendar, specifically breathing exercises as it relates to the calendar. So I can get into the Egyptian mythology of it all, but long story short, because that is a very long story how I even got into Egyptian anything. Long story short, there's an entity that separates the crushing nature of the stars and the outer space from the earth, and that entity, his name is Shu, and Shu is literally the breath. Like, he was created by Atum, and he was created by Atum when Atum sneezed. The sneeze created the breath, which is Shu, and the moisture or the dew, which is Tefnut. And so Shu and Tefnut, I really believe they do it together. They keep Geb, which is the earth, masculine, like I said, and the outer sky, the outer space, which is, her name is Nut, they keep them separated. Okay. And so that space is what allows humanity to exist. Without that space, humanity cannot exist. And so the daily sacrifice and Sabbath in general is honoring that space, which means taking a break. It doesn't, it's like very, very simple. And so to me, the daily sacrifice is breath work as it relates to the calendar in some way. And in general, taking the Sabbath seriously means scheduling a break. Now, what do they do in this system? Once you're inside this system, you never get a day off. Like, even if you're not working, you still don't get a day off. You don't get a break, except holidays. In some places, you don't even get holidays off. But let's say you get holidays off. What time of year has the most holidays? This would be Sagittarius season. You have Thanksgiving, that's 2 days off because they have Thanksgiving on Thursday, and then they have Black Friday on Friday. They want people to go shop. And then Christmas is similar because you have Christmas Eve, you have Christmas Day, and then right after that, you have New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So this is a time of year when we have the most days off, literally. So the most rest is built in, and then you have Veterans Day on the 11th. So there's a lot of time off between basically November the 1st and January the 1st. That um is built into our system because we are naturally supposed to be resting at this time. That's literally what it is. So in order to appease the gods, they had to give us some time off. But then what do? They turned Thanksgiving into a sideshow with Black Friday. And then for a while, I remember this because I was one of these Black Friday shoppers. They started moving Black Friday earlier and earlier and earlier so you could go shopping at 4, 5, 6 o'clock on Thursday. It's like, wait a minute, what happened to Thanksgiving? Like, we used to have Thanksgiving. Now there's no more Thanksgiving and basically go straight to Black Friday. I mean, it's just forget of the time you're supposed to be spending with your family, taking a break, resting and relaxing. Now you're out here fighting over TVs and PlayStations and stuff. Like, they just totally like messed the whole thing up. So this time of year that's coming up, literally specifically from November the 1st all the way through January the 1st, is literally I will call it the energetic high point because the sun is at its lowest, right? We're getting to the shortest days of the year, which means the internal world is going to be at its highest. And so, since there's no value placed on the internal world, i.e., Sabbath, in our lives, rest and breathing and all of this stuff basically just goes unnoticed. Like, nobody even talks about it. And so, so the part about the daily sacrifice being related to the calendar is that I talked last time about how we fell in density, and also the spirits must have fell in density too. And so in Daniel 12, it talks about how at the end times, some of the spirits are going to awake to everlasting life, and some of the spirits are going to wake to everlasting torture. And so what we did in the last talk was we basically said, no, they all get raised to everlasting life because we forgave them all. Had we not forgiven them in the last episode, there's no way that they would be rising to everlasting life right now, which they are. The energy is totally different. Like, I don't even know where Egyptian gods come from. I haven't talked about no Egyptian gods except for Captain brought it up like a week or two ago, and I just, I don't really get into the Egyptology because that gets into these weird, like, FBA black people and all these black people who say that we're from Kemet and all of this stuff. And I just stay out of it because I'm not trying to argue with these people. I don't really have nothing to say about what they're talking about, except that they have no idea what they're talking about in general at all. Like, this is just another arena that they just don't know what's going on. So the daily sacrifice part of it is when we get to December the 1st, that's when I'm going to start. That's when we start a new Zolkin cycle. Okay. The new Zolkin cycle that starts on December the 1st, I have already planned on, putting together a little group, going through the whole 260 days and all of that. To me, that's the daily sacrifice. The 1 minute that it takes to listen to me say what the energy is for that day and programming that into the system. So I've already got that part in the works. I've already been working on it. Now let's talk about the breathing part for a little bit. Everybody should be taking their meditation seriously. That was one of the very first messages that we got in 2022 that we didn't really understand. So I've talked a little bit about the electric fluid and the magnetic fluid and all of that. But when I went back and listened to my Operation Elvira videos again, I realized that I had talked about it in more detail than I did in even the other video where I said that I covered it, because I talked about how basically the electric magnetic fluid is already here. And so what Bardon says in his book is that he is trying to have people draw it in from out in the space or somewhere, but we don't have to do that because that electric and magnetic fluid is Shu and Tefnut. And because Shu is the breath, the dryness of the breath, and Tefnut is the moisture that goes along with the breath. And so people have to start, especially very soon, they have to start taking their meditation their breath work seriously, not just like meditation, because regular meditation could be any number of things. May the words of my heart, may the words of my mind and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord. So the meditations of your heart is the things that your heart is worried about. So like, or thinking about, or what direction your heart is going. So meditation could be anything. Breath work is a very different, very specific thing. This is where, just briefly, when you breathe, okay, now I'm a professional singer, okay. I've been singing, I've been singing since I've been speaking. I've been public speaking since I was 4, and I've been singing that long. But when I was in high school, our choir performed everywhere. We recorded an album. I was a student director. Like breath, this is something that is well within my wheelhouse. Okay, so when you breathe, now, you can notice this in yourself. There's a lot of people who do not breathe properly. Okay, so I'm just going to a brief breathing lesson. When you breathe, you're supposed to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And you don't have to rush it. Me, I can breathe in through my nose and I can take it probably out to 45 seconds now. I used to probably be able to do a minute and a half, but I just try to do some breathing exercise today, and I realized my breathing is all out of whack. It's probably another reason why I've gained so much weight is because I haven't been doing any like singing, so I haven't been doing any proper breathing. So you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And so when I always tell people, like I teach this to my kids. I taught this to like a lot of people. This was my main thing I taught when I did like vocal lessons, because I did used to do those a lot, especially at home. You very as much as you can breathe in, you breathe in until your diaphragm, because it's not it's not really your lungs that control how the air comes out. It's your diaphragm, which is below your lungs, kind of like above your stomach. Actually, it's right below, like right where your rib cage is, basically. So it's above your stomach, but like below, like I guess I don't know. Look, I have breasts, so I can't describe this no other way. It's like right underneath my breast. That's the best I can tell you. So when you breathe in into your diaphragm, and your lungs and everything is full. And then you breathe out through your mouth. The reason why you don't want to breathe in through your mouth is because your nose has hairs in it that filters the air. And so if you're breathing in through your mouth can't filter the air. A lot of people who get like sick a lot, strep throat, and all this stuff, lots of throat issues, it's because they breathing in through their mouth, and there's nothing to filter the air when they breathe in through their mouth. Plus, you can't breathe in as much air. You have to breathe in through your nose so that the air that's getting to your lungs and to your diaphragm is literally the purest air possible, because you've breathed in through your nose. And then when you breathe out through your mouth, you're going to exhale extremely slowly, as you can. But when you start feeling lightheaded, go ahead and push the rest of that air out and do it again. You only need to do this for like 5 minutes a day. Now, when I mentioned this, I think it was in the last talk. When I was in high school, we would do this for 30 minutes. Lightheaded, maybe we would do it for an hour, because sometimes we would be in trouble, and that was always the punishment. Diaphragmatics, because that's what we called them. And I'm not going to talk about those because those are much more difficult, but we had to do them for sometimes an hour. If we messed up a song, something was wrong, we were any reason our choir director could give us, we was doing diaphragmatics. Was it torture? Yes. But was it legal? Absolutely, because how can you get in trouble when the teacher is telling you to breathe? So there's no trouble for that. You're not breaking any rules. But was it torture if you had to do it? 100,000%. It is one of the diaphragmatics we did is one of the most difficult things that you can do. So I do have a video on that. If people want it, I'll link it. But it's a part of my rhabdomancy course on pendulums, because when you're working with a pendulum, you have to be able to control your breathing, because the pendulum can only pick up the energy that you have access to. So if your breathing is all like choppy and whatever, then the pendulum is not going to give you accurate results. You have to be calm. So what people do is they take the pendulum and they hook it to something where they don't have to touch it. Well, that's not good because then it's not connected to your energy. So you want to have a physical contact with the pendulum when you're touching it so you can tell what realms you're dealing in. But that's another conversation for another day. I just said all this to say that, oh, last thing. So the time difference between the 1st of December when we start the new cycle and 45 days, because basically the difference between 1,290 days and 1,335 days is 45 days. 45 days prior to December the 1st was last Friday, October the 17th. So we are in this last time period where things are being adjusted and we're getting ready to start the cycle. Now, what does the cycle starting look like? We have to go backwards. Just as I mentioned, the same way you start the cycle is the same way you have to end the cycle. So you can't start the cycle and immediately start going in a different direction. That's not what happens. Basically, you walk backwards through the entire cycle until you get back to basically where you were supposed to be when you started the last cycle. And that way you can make the adjustments along the way. All of these things are cycles. They're wheels inside of wheels. So I haven't done the math yet to see where this cycle started, so I can't tell you. But I do know last Friday started the cycle, this 45-day period, and when we get to December the 1st, that's when this cycle is going to start over. Now, I had previously done that calculation, but of course, I didn't make a video and I wasn't talking about it. So I can't remember all the things. But as when I get a chance to start really digging into the information, it's going to be fascinating. But I thought it was important enough to mention now because we have to get back to the daily sacrifice. So, what does a daily sacrifice look for an individual? 5 minutes of breath work a day and tapping in with the calendar. That's basically it. What does Sabbath look like? Don't overwork yourself. What I'm going to do is spend time in nature for sure. I'm going to make an effort to be outside, grounding or being by water, depending on what it is best for my energy. Which you have to look at your energy, obviously, to know which one is going to be best for you. Most men need to be in water. Okay. Generally, most women probably need to be grounding with earth unless you're like me and you have a lot of earth and you need to balance. I have a lot of earth and I have a lot of water, so I have to balance mine out in a different way. But most men are not like in contact with the water enough in general is what I'm discovering. And so that's what I would recommend to most men. But it really depends on your energy. So I don't know where you want me to clarify because I just
Um, yeah, I think when it comes to so uh okay, so this the daily sacrifice, just I mean you kind of mentioned it towards the end. What does that look like? Why do we do it? Doing it daily? Is it basically like an offering of sorts to God? Like just I guess delineating that a little more would be helpful. You're muted if you're talking. Not sure if you you're muted. I don't know if you're talking.
give my daughter these painting lessons, and you know how old people are, I was like, she's telling me, I don't know. Look, I'm so sorry. Can you summarize what you responded with, or what you want me to delineate? I'm so sorry. That was so
Of
crazy
course.
and random, actually.
No worries.
Um,
Yeah, so it
can you hear
was.
me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Oh crap! Hello? You can't hear me. All right.
You should be able to hear me now.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
No. Can you hear me? No. You can't. Okay, let me try leaving again.
Let's see. I think it should work. Can you hear
Can
me?
anyone hear me?
Yes.
Can anyone hear me at all? You can?
Uh-huh. Hello?
I don't know why I can't hear you, but I'm gonna try to leave the space one more time and come back, because it's usually me. When I listen back to the recordings, it's always me. So let me come right back.
Hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, and this is current, because I was hearing like the leftovers from the last thing I said. I'm so okay. Again, if you didn't hear me, I apologize. It was a old lady that called me. She's giving my daughter painting lessons, and I was not expecting her to call me at 9 o'clock at night for any reason. So I do apologize about that, but I needed to know what the plan was for tomorrow. So luckily, I don't have to go see her tomorrow. I'm putting it off again another week, which is fabulous and fantastic for me. So please, what is it that I need to delineate first? Because I know I said a lot, and now it's been like 10 minutes. So hopefully, it's not too much confusion. I don't know. I feel a little flustered.
So yeah, no worries, of course. Glad that you're able to hear me. So what I do is I basically close the app and then I come back, and that allows me to reconnect to the space.
Yeah,
So that helps to offset, whatever glitches come about.
yeah,
So it was going further into, um because you did mention what the daily sacrifice kind of looks like.
yes,
A part of that was connecting with nature, but like maybe delineating more specifically what this daily sacrifice looks like and what is the purpose of it. Like what are we really um doing here, both day to day but also long term, like understanding what we're really doing this for.
Okay, so the point of the daily sacrifice is to attune to the spirit realm. It's really to tune into the frequency of that day. I think the 13-day cycle is probably going to be the most important, because that tells us the literal frequency for the day. So I think it's a literal tuning into the frequency for the day. And so what it looks like long term is staying in alignment with the energy that is with the order that has been made from the chaos. So let's go into the Egyptian pantheon a little bit. In the beginning, basically, in their understanding, the Egyptian pantheon, there was Atum, right? Atum had he was one with his masculine and his feminine energy, but his feminine energy had a part as well, and that part was called Ra. Ra, they call him a god, but obviously the sun is feminine, so Ra is a goddess who becomes the sun, okay, once the space is created. So in the Egyptian pantheon, what happens is Atum is self-created. He willed himself into existence, okay? Once he wills himself into existence with his masculine and feminine parts all as one, he sneezes. And when he sneezes out Shu and Tefnut, okay? And so because he sneezed them out, he is now a creator god. So he lets his creations go and explore into the chaos, which is called none, okay? N-U-N, like zero, like in, is none. So Shu and Tefnut go out exploring into the chaos that is none, but they get lost. And so what happens is Atum, unable to go look for them on his own, separates his eye, his Ra, out from him and sends his Ra, his light, from his eye out to find his creations. He finds the eye, which is she, finds Shu and Tefnut and brings them back, reunites them with Atum, the father. So when the twins are gone, this is when Atum first feels loneliness, right? Because he created these things and then these things go away. And so when they don't return, that is when he feels loneliness. When when Shu and Tefnut return, that is when the creator first feels joy. So what we are trying to do is to tap into that energy of returning to the Father in a literal sense. All of the wealthiest, most successful groups of people knew how to do this. And you do it with rest. Because as you rest, you are capable of tapping into that primordial energy. If your body is in constant motion, you can't tap into the energy. Go back to when we discussed how seeds grow. The very first thing that you do as a seed is you put it in the ground. You separate it from yourself. So that would be the loneliness that Atum felt when Tefnut and Shu were separated from him. But then after a while, what happens? It begins to grow and return back to the light. And that's what we are imitating when we do our Sabbath fast, and also specifically when we do our daily sacrifice. The daily sacrifice, like I said, is just breathing. It's breathing in that electromagnetic fluid, i.e., Tefnu and Tefnut and Shu, breathing in that electromagnetic vibration and literally consciously effort putting that energy into our body so that we cannot be separated from the creator. And that's what breath does. Like, that's what the rest does. In the space, that's where creation can happen. Because the reason why Shu and Tefnut were basically ordered, they had to keep Geb, which is the earth, and Nut, which is the sky, separated, is because those two, the earth and the sky, were so close together. There was no atmosphere, there was no firmament for humanity or anything at all to grow, because these two things were connected. So if you look at the other planets, what do they say about these planets? Oh, they're uninhabited. Oh, the atmosphere can't support life, right? But what are they always finding? Oh, it looks like there used to be life here. There might have been life here. This issue of keeping Nut, which is the sky, and Geb, which is the ground, the rock that we're on, separated, has been an issue throughout the galaxy. No one has been able to solve this issue except here on Earth, with the introduction of this dryness and moisture together to keep these two separated. That's why we have an atmosphere on Earth where humanity can survive, and it's nowhere else in the universe, because there's no other pantheon in the universe that can do this. Only here, only us. So that's why I said everything in the universe incarnates into this earth realm, because nowhere else on earth can they support physical life. It's just that like the Venus beings are probably water beings, and the Mars beings are probably fire beings, and all of this stuff. Like, they're just not incarnated here as humans. Only humans are humans. This is why I always talk about the fact that we have a body is highly significant, because there's nobody else with a body in any of these other realms. They don't have bodies. Not like us. I mean, their bodies look like our bodies if you see them, but they're still not human. Like, they don't have the humanity that we have. They don't have the breath of life. There we go. They don't have the breath of life. Only humans have the breath of life. And so we have to reconnect with that breath of life by doing breathing exercises specifically to reactivate our breath of life, which is the moisture and the dryness into our body, into our cells.
Okay, interesting. So you mentioned that so you said that the spirits can only reincarnate on Earth? There you said something
Yeah, yeah.
about like
Only like Earth is the only place where anybody incarnates physically. There are beings on Venus. There are beings on the sun. There are beings on Mars. All of these planets have entities, but they physically incarnate here. They project into this realm. We are the only ones not projecting into this realm. We are Quentin, excuse me, excuse me. I want this. Okay, give me here. We are physically in this realm. Nobody else is in this realm, but nobody else is physically in this realm but us. Like, how do I say this? The other beings in this realm are projecting in. We are the only ones not projecting in. We're literally here. They're projecting. So, like, okay, there's a guy who does like this thing where you can astral project. I was trying to remember Mama, that. Okay. I was trying to. Okay, that's fine. There's a guy who teaches people how to astral project, right? And so when he teaches people how to astral project, one of the things that he does is he says you can step into um a drop of water, and in that drop of water will be a whole nother realm. And that's basically how it is. Like, everything is something, like everything is living. You just can't you don't have physical access to that right now. We will have access to that pretty soon, but we don't have physical access to that right now. So what is inhabiting all these different realms? It's not humans. They don't have the breath of life. So what are they? They are literally projecting in from all these other places. So, like, people talk about the Andromeda galaxy, this galaxy, that galaxy. A lot of these galaxies are projected in to the deep waters, like deep, because there's more water on this planet than anything else. Like, there's got to be something there, and it's not land. Like, people are like, oh, that's where the land went. No, 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 no. It's not land. It's these other galaxies having a place to incarnate on this particular planet. Because if humanity can physically incarnate here, that means if I'm in another realm and I see that there are humans and the humans are physically incarnated, I'm doing whatever it takes to have an opportunity to physically incarnate, because those only through incarnation can you reach all the scales. You don't have an opportunity to reach all the scales, which means to reach the creator, unless you incarnate. It's really like important. Plus, as we evolve, these entities also evolve too. There's got to be a plan. We can't, if we evolve into the next level, right? And let's say we go from being physical beings to being non-physical beings, somebody has to come up and become the physical beings. That's what these lizard people and all these other weird people they say are. They're people that falsely incarnated into human forms, because what happened was these evil witches and okay, let me go back. The chaos that was before there was space between the chaos that was um when the creator was created. The creator was self-created out of the chaos. The chaos continued to exist. Okay, the chaos is what is always trying to take back over, because in the story of Shu and Tefnut, the chaos lures Shu and Tefnut away from the father and basically entraps them to try to lower their vibration and return them to the chaos, not to the father. And so that's what the chaos is always trying to return us to the chaos. That's basically like what the false matrix is.
You said only through incarnation you can reach all the scales, right?
Yes. Yes, because you don't have access. The scales are order. So if you come from a place that doesn't have physical order, you can't go through the scales. You just can't do it. You have to have order. And remember, chaos is always trying to draw us back into more chaos. That's why when you have like one bad day, like this this is like the story of my life. I have one bad day, and let's say I don't do anything about that bad day to remedy it. Well, the next day is bad, and the next day is bad, and the next day is bad, and next thing you know, you just spiral out of control, and you look at your life 5, 10, 15 years later, and you're like, excuse me, I'm on the phone. You look at your life 5, 10, 15 years later, and you're like, how did this happen? You don't know because you just spiraled into the chaos. That's what a lot of people who are on drugs do. They don't even know what happened to their life. They just spiraled out. They're spiraling into the chaos. So when you breathe, right, you're breathing in Shu and Tefnut, who were able to overcome the chaos so that chaos can't have access to you. Because if you're marked with the breath of life, the chaos can't overtake you. But what a lot of people do, like look at what COVID did. What did they have everybody doing? Wearing masks to try to starve them of the breath of life.
Yeah,
Literally,
I don't
they're
know.
trying to take the breath of life
I
from
could
them.
barely stand 10 minutes. I don't know how people were
I
doing it
couldn't
for
do it.
hours.
I don't know either. I made a mask out of silver fabric. That's what I did. I made a mask out of silver fabric.
Silver. So what is that? Like basically like just air goes right through?
Yes, it looked dark though. It looked dark. I think no, the silver one did not look dark, but I also had one that looked dark. But yeah, so the air went straight through, and basically the silver was purifying the air that I was breathing. So that's what I did. My mom had bought a bunch of silver fabric. It was this whole thing.
So yeah, I mean, COVID, the masks, it definitely fucked up a lot of people's breathing.
Yeah, people right now say they have long COVID. Right, long COVID is your inability to breathe, and so their solution is to wear a mask. Like chaos. Is that not? That's just pure chaos.
Yeah, right,
Pure
right.
chaos. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
Wow. Yeah, it's breathing is something that I've been conscious of the last few years, and it kind of comes in and out in terms of uh really finding a way to breathe in a because the I think the big issue with breathing, at least day to day, is that it's a lot of people breathe very short. It's very short
Right.
cycles. And so
Right.
it's like breathing in quickly and then breathing out. Breathing in quickly and then breathing out. So it's like and
Yeah,
then
they're gasping for air.
yes, exactly.
They're
That's
gasping.
exactly what they're
Now,
doing.
the opposite of that is, like I was saying, in high school, we did diaphragmatics, okay? So let me just explain diaphragmatics. It sounds like gasping for air, but in reverse. And so what we would do with our diaphragmatics is basically we would focus all our energy on the exhale. So it sounds like this. And like we would do that for like an hour, I told you. But by focusing on the exhale, you force your body to automatically do the inhale. And so you can't do that for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes if you're thinking about when you're going to breathe, because all the focus is pushing the air out of your body. So that's a very like a core workout. It's a very aggressive um air exercise, and so that's what I grew up on. And when you do that, like, you have a lot of more control over your breath. So like I said, it used to take me, like, when I was trying to fill my lungs and my diaphragm, it could take me like 2 minutes. I timed myself one time. I could breathe in, just in, over 2 minutes. And then when I was breathing out, it would be 2.5 minutes. Like, that's almost like Navy SEALs. Like, they have to be able to hold their breath for like what, 3, 4 minutes? Like, that's what I learned that in high school. And so, like, when you are able to control your breathing like that, then when like you get flustered or something like that, it's less likely that you're going to come out of your body. Because when you're doing the diaphragmatics, you have to stay in your body. There's no like, oh, you're going to jump out of your body and escape the whatever. No, 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 no. You're in your body and you're breathing pretty aggressively while you're inside of your body. And so it's training, but that's why I say to people, just start with breathing in through your nose and taking as long as possible to breathe in, and then as long as possible to breathe out. And don't, like, you have to start small, because your diaphragm is a muscle all in and of itself. Like, it's not like nobody has even ever really talked about it, how to train it, how to anything. Like, this is something I learned because I'm a singer. So singers, good singers know it. I can tell which ones don't. Good singers know it, but most people don't even, I would say diaphragm, and they would be like, what is that? Don't even know what it is.
Yeah, people have not been, there's been zero I mean, all teaching on breathing is self-taught, or you go seek it out, you read a book or this or that.
But even like the people who are teaching breathing, right? Like these, especially like the ones from India, they're not talking about diaphragmatics. Diaphragmatics is it's aggressive. It's aggressive. It is literally training your body to function, first of all, to automatically draw air in, and then to um direct that air out of your body no matter what, like force all of it out in a almost like a gun. Like, you hit somebody with a diaphragmatic, they're going to be like, if your breath is hot, they're going to be, everyone's going to know, like, because you're forcing all the air out of your diaphragm immediately. So imagine like being able to do that over a sustained amount of time. If you get hit or something like that, you're just, you've trained yourself to automatically like push that air out. So that means your body is going to automatically bring in more air, because you don't have a chance to, it's automatic. Again, it's like it's almost military like in nature, honestly. Um because it's removing that thought process of breathing in and really forcing it, all of the air out. It's so hard to describe. Like I said, I made a video showing it, like displaying what it looks like, but it's still very, very difficult to like describe. So when I would teach vocal lessons, I would start with the basic breathe in and breathe out as a prep. Like, we didn't do that in high school. That's just that's all me, because my choir director was not giving us no opportunity to prepare. But I started that as a prep, like just to warm your diaphragm up, like a warm up. And then we would do like 10, so we do that for 10 minutes. We would, because breathing, singing is all about breathing. Like, if your breathing is messed up, it doesn't matter what you do. Like, you're never going to sound right. So we would do regular breathing for 10 minutes. I would do diaphragmatics for 10 minutes. And most of the time, my students couldn't keep up with me. I mean, even the ones I had for a long time, they couldn't keep up with me. And then we would do whatever singing. And I told you I did a lot of work with kids who had autism, who were who didn't speak well. I work with them on speaking, like, just because a lot of the times, if people don't speak well, it's because they don't breathe well. And so when you work with them on that, then they actually sound better. So it's
Mm.
a, it's, that actually was really, really helpful. One of my students, actually, let me see, it was three of them that had autism. Two of them went to college and graduated. One of them played football. The other one, she's a veterinarian. She's going to veterinarian school when I talked to her last. And what I was working, because she was the highest functioning one of the three, what I was working with her on was not sounding so monotone. Because sometimes if you have autism, like, and you are high functioning, then learning how to have inflections in your voice is another issue. Like it requires another part of your brain. So I would just work with her on how to sound, like how to know when to raise your voice at the end, like you're asking a question, or when to keep it flat because you're making a statement. Those kind of things that people don't think about, but when you talk to somebody, you can hear it. And I mean, she's fantastic. I mean, the other one, he couldn't hardly talk. Like, he would talk, like, what did you say? But by the time I finished working with him, you could understand at least 50% of what he was saying, which before was not the case. So I know that it works, but it started with the foundation of the breathing, the most important thing.
Yeah, for sure. The breathing, that makes sense. So the daily sacrifice is basically like meditating, but really focusing on the proper breathing, like having like a breathing
Right.
ritual, a breathing session.
Right.
On top of that, you say, so that breathing session, you recommend doing it for the most part, either like somehow connected to nature.
No, that part doesn't have
So
to be
that's just
connected to
throughout the
nature.
day.
Sabbath, that's just, yeah, that's just whenever
Oh.
you have an opportunity. It's specifically Sabbath, you want to connect to nature. So the
Mm.
daily sacrifice and the Sabbath are not exactly the same.
Okay, so
Because
Sabbath.
the daily sacrifice is just a few minutes, but the Sabbath is like, it's really the day where we're supposed to receive the instructions, or rather commemorate the joy of returning to the Creator. That's a better way to frame it.
Mm. Okay.
So what would you do if you were going home, and you hadn't seen your parents in a while? Well, you'd have dinner, you sit and talk, you just, kind of be with them, like be in their energy, like that. The more we can invoke that kind of energy of just being at peace with ourselves, being at
Right.
peace with our surroundings, like just feeling like, okay, so the opposite side of that, right? You have these Hebrew Israelites, which one day, put it on your list. We have to talk about room raiders, but we can't talk about it right now because that's what they're doing. They're womb raiding. But this is what these Hebrew Israelites do. They say when the Sabbath comes, you're supposed to cook, you don't supposed to clean, you don't supposed to do nothing but research and study. That's how you supposed to spend your day, researching and study. Now, mind you, for the Hebrew Israelites, the Sabbath started at, first of all, remember, our days start at sunrise, not at sundown. Their Sabbath starts at sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday. So if you work 5 days a week, as soon as you get home, instead of getting your weekend started, going out and having a good time, seeing family and friends and all of that, they want you to sit at home by yourself and study. That's backwards. If you were going home to your father, just like in the story of the prodigal son, you would
Right.
go home and have a party.
Yeah,
You would
yeah.
celebrate. You would kill the fattened calf. You would get your friends and make merry. Like, that's what you would do. What are these people doing? Well, I can't clean. I can't do this. I can't do that. Mind you, they just work 5 days out the week. So now they've got to try to squeeze in one day a week, like from sundown on Saturday till they go back to work on Monday, all the stuff they need to do to care for themselves. This is how these people observe the Sabbath, which is totally, again, ass backwards. What I'm saying is, when you have the Sabbath, keep in mind the story of prodigal son and what the father did when the son returned home. They had a party, so it should be celebratory in nature. And I'm just saying, don't just celebrate with people. Don't forget all of these elementals that are working tirelessly to help us. The
Mm.
very air we breathe is Shu and Tefnut because it's moist and it's dry. The very air we breathe, the very reason we can even exist is because of Shu and Tefnut keeping Geb and Nut separated. Like, those are things that you have to acknowledge. Like, you can't. This is the age of acknowledgement. Like, you have to acknowledge how these things are being done. And as we acknowledge them, we come more into alignment with them. That's where the calendar comes in. Because then you need to know what time they're on. Because the reason I found out about Shu is because I was looking for the entity that is over the 13th lunar mansion, which his name is Imrudu. And without going into that long story, I realized that was related to Shu. But Shu, since it's wind, is also related. Is related to Imrudu, and Shu, since it is wind, is also related to Vayu. Shu, since it is wind, is also related to Rahavia, which is an air Kadeshi. So these things are all connected. I found this was a corner piece, but this was the corner piece because if you get your breath in order, the rest of all the calendar starts to make sense. The breath is one thing and the tone is the next thing. So we have to, again, that's things that, because I have the calendar in order, I'll tell people the tone for the day. Okay, today's frequency is the solar star chakra, the root chakra, the earth star chakra. Every tone of or frequency has a chakra point that it's related to, and it goes in the order of 13, just back and forth and back, not back and forth, but 1 through 13, start back over at 1 through 13, 113, over and over and over again. And when you get in alignment with those frequencies, okay, so they came out and said that if a entity contacts you from Atlas 3I, right? They're allowed to contact you, but you're not allowed to contact it. Now, why would they come out and talk about that at all? Like, what are they? Why are they telling you? Yeah, if one of those entities off 3i Atlas contacts you, it's okay, but you're not allowed to contact it. Why are they even saying this? Why?
That's what they're saying?
Yes. Yes.
So that people can't contact them, but if they get contacted, that it works.
Yeah, it's okay, but you know what they want you to do? Oh, don't forget to tell your government what they told you. Never mind. I'm gonna tell them where they can go. I was
But
like,
where are
no,
they gonna
because
say that? Is there a form that you fill out to tell the government? How's that work?
I honestly, I don't know. I think it's insane. But the fact that anybody official is even saying anything like this is, to me, totally insane. It tells you the nature of what is going to happen. Because again, the way we started this cycle is the way we have to end the cycle. So if we're ending the cycle in this, if we're ending the cycle by learning about the calendar, putting the calendar together, learning about the Etruscan culture, getting into the Egyptian pantheon and all of this stuff. If this is what we're learning at the end of the cycle, imagine where we started the cycle. We already knew all of this stuff. This is what they took from us when we started the cycle. And so
right. Yeah.
we're walking back through to correct the mistakes that happen over the cycle. And that's what happens. So when you read a story in the Bible, like, and you think it's related, like, again, I was talking about Daniel 12, you start reading it backwards. That's what I did with Revelation. That's why I kept saying we're at the end of the story. But now we're working backwards through the story. So we already had the end. Like, the end is already coming. Again, Jesus fulfilled all the prophecies. It's just figuring out where we picked up from the end. Now we're walking our way back through the whole book of Revelation. And we're going to end the story where we began it. And I think in Revelation 1 is taught. Well, first of all, Revelation is not in the right order, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to end this story where Revelation starts, and that is where Jesus appears to John and he starts telling them about these various churches and how wicked they are. That's where we're headed towards. They don't want to go to that because it's going to mess the. Again, this whole system is based on chaos. And if people start to put order to the chaos, and that's what the calendar does. It helps you to put order to the chaos. So instead of you saying, man, I wonder why this happened, I wonder why this didn't happen, and all, you know why it happened, and you know why it didn't happen. Look at your calendar. It's this day, it's that day. This is the energy, that's the energy. And my calendar is so advanced that you can pretty much like me, I'm following the calendar, right? For my own purposes to see. It is pretty freaking accurate. Like there's no movement until after I get out of this energy, which on Monday I go into a new energy. I bet you it's gonna be something totally different. Like I can guarantee it's gonna be something totally different by Monday. Because I go into a new energy. I'll go into Saturn energy, which is fine with me. I like Saturn. I got Saturn in my first house. I'm cool. A lot of people don't like Saturn, but order is my thing. And then look at that. During the midst of my Saturn timeline, that's when we start a new 260-day cycle. That's not a coincidence. That's literally encoded into me. It's just the nature of the way things are. And when you can say that to the chaos, hey, it's the nature of the way things are, then the chaos cannot overtake you. So this is about keeping the chaos or the anxiety from overtaking you. In the confusion and all this weird stuff.
This as in the daily sacrifice?
The daily sacrifice, the Sabbath, and the calendar are to keep the confusion and the chaos and the anxiety from overtaking you. The breathing keeps the chaos from overtaking you. The nun from drawing you into its chaos. And that's what they're trying to do.
The daily sacrifice, the Sabbath, and the calendar.
Yes. Keep the chaos from overtaking
Keeps
you.
chaos from overtaking you. Okay. Yeah.
And you need all the parts, because if you're not, if you it's fine, because I say you need all the parts because I've done this in order. First, we figured out the Sabbath. That was the very first thing we figured out. When is the Sabbath? So that was helpful, but it didn't solve the problems. Then the breathing thing I already knew, so I just wasn't taking it seriously. That's another thing we got all the way back in 2022. So I had two of those. The thing I didn't have was the calendar. And as I have put the calendar together and really like started to really implement it very strictly and to push it very seriously, I could see the things started to come together. I mean, how do you even get this much? Again, how is it possible to get this much information in 3 days? I talked to you on Tuesday.
Right.
This is all new information. This is not old
yeah,
information.
This is big. This is big.
This is huge new information from 3 days.
New information has come to light.
Exactly. In 3 days? No, that's the calendar. That's because I have to, since I'm on the calendar on my personal 10-month calendar timeline, hey, this month ends on Sunday for me. And so if I don't learn the whole lesson I was supposed to learn during this 36 days, somebody's in trouble. So they have to make sure I get all the information that I need going into the start of my next month. That's how you continue to advance and move forward. Now, it's very exhausting because if you have to do all this plus work plus all this stuff, it's very exhausting. When you follow this calendar, you literally don't have time to work. This is where the Etruscan culture comes in because they live their life based off of this calendar. For sure. So did the Egyptians. They lived their life, again, Cleopatra. Now I understand. They lived their life based off of this culture. 100%. There's no way they couldn't have, because they have the pieces that I was like, okay, this, I had made a video and I said, you know, the calendar is done, but I know it's not in its final iteration because I knew it was missing stuff, but I didn't know where this, I mean, I've searched already, I think about 20, 30 pantheons, pulling a little bit here, a little bit there to put this calendar together. I didn't know it was still missing. I'm like, I don't even know what's still missing. So I don't even know how to finish it. And now it's like, oh, this is what was missing. This whole, you know, Egyptian pantheon stuff. So that's why no art lessons tomorrow, because I got to finish this by Monday. So the angels even went out their way to get my art teacher something else to do in such a way that our lessons are canceled tomorrow because I got to work on this. That I know that's why that happened. There's no other excuse for it. Just, she said, out of nowhere, some lady invited her to go to lunch today and tomorrow, and she's gonna buy her some stuff. And I was like, okay, but I mean, how rare? I've been thinking about this all week. I was like, nope, I'm taking her to art lessons this week. I need the money to go to art lessons, art lessons, art lessons, art lessons. And the lady calls, oh, no art lessons. That's crazy. I've been thinking about art lessons all week. And they're like, nope, you're not, don't think about art lessons. Think about this calendar you got to finish. Okay, people, fine. This is, you have to be able to roll along with the energy. So a normie, if this kind of thing happened to them, they would be like, man, I was making these plans and I don't know what happened and this and that. I'm like, I knew exactly what, when she called me at 9 o'clock at night on a Friday, I knew exactly what was happening. I called her this morning at 9:30. She just called me back at 9 o'clock. Yeah, I already knew something was going on, but I was like, hey, until I hear from her, my plan is the same. I said that before we started this thing. Here she called in the middle of it. This is a real life example. This type of stuff used to happen to me all the time. I didn't know nothing about the calendar. I think it's because of my breathing. I was doing a lot of breathing. So I was able to connect properly because I was breathing properly. But since my breathing has just, I mean, like I just said, it's not so good right now. And it's my anxiety is high and I'm stressed out and all this stuff, and my breathing is also not good on top of all of that. It's just like being unplugged from the source. So now I'm also thinking that the easiest way to plug people back into the source is to correct their breathing, which
Yep.
is super easy. I mean, I taught this to my oldest daughter when she was 4. I got a video of, teaching her the whole diaphragmatics and all of this stuff. And every year she's like one of the star characters in the little plays that they do musicals every year at the school. She's one of the star players. She can sing and everybody's, oh my goodness. It's like, yeah, that's because I taught her how to do these breathing exercises when she was 4. Very, very young. I taught all my
Yeah,
kids how to do it.
when one is angry, when one is upset, when one is jealous, you could literally feel, you could sense the breathing within oneself
Right.
changes.
Right.
And so if we're able to incorporate proper breathing and also become aware of when there's shifts in the breathing,
Right.
that enables us to more easily alchemize the energy. It enables us to more easily, when we are going to act, we're acting from a place of a calm breathing. If
Right.
one is breathing in a very calm manner, it's going to be very difficult to get riled up. It's actually probably not even possible.
Right.
It's probably very, very difficult to be angry and um, stay breathing in a very calming state.
Right.
But and you see it everywhere. You see it in like everything that they give us is to try to create a very erratic breathing state. All
Yeah.
of this clickbait, all of this attacks from one party to another party, or
Mm-hmm.
conspiracy theories. There's always things that are pushed to disrupt the breathing pattern. But yeah, I agree for sure. The breathing is extremely important, and um, and I love that you mentioned, yeah, the daily sacrifice, the Sabbath, and then the calendar. So um, what so where okay, so yeah, I mean, this is great. This is really good. I guess for me the next thing is um so the Etruscans, and I watched the video you sent me.
Lord, that is a whole, the things I have discovered on that in literally like the last 48 hours is insane. Like, it's completely insane. So the Etruscans were basically the tribe of Benjamin. So let's go back a few, maybe a month and a half ago. Oh no, longer than that. When I was talking about the Levite and the priest kings and all that stuff, and I told that whole story out of Leviticus. I mean, out of Judges, and the story just ends. You don't even know what happens next. Where, just as a refresher, the Levite priest was conducting a ritual with a woman from some other group of people, and basically he chooses a Benjaminite's house to go into. So he targeted the Benjaminites. Let's just, for sure, I know that now. He targeted the Benjaminites, okay, and went into the house of the Benjaminite, and basically the people, some of the wicked people in the town came to the door of the Benjaminite looking for the woman, well, looking for the Levite who had come in there. So the Levite was like, no, take this wife I have. So they took the wife out the house, raped her brutally, and then she's crawling back to the door. So before she can reach the threshold to get back into the house, the Levite literally kills her, chops her into pieces, and sends her all over to the 12 tribes. The 12 tribes have there was never a thing done like that in Israel before. So the 12 tribes, they come to the Levite and they question him on what's going on. The Levite blames the Benjaminite. So the 11 tribes start fighting all the Benjaminites. And basically, they destroy the whole tribe almost of Benjaminites. There's a few left, and those that were left, nobody in the other 12 tribes would marry them. So they went and did a raid on another group of people, which I think are the ancient quote unquote Mayans. They did a raid on another group of people, took those women as their wives, and then went on about like nothing happened. And then right after that, you get Saul being crowned king by Samuel, because the Israelites said they wanted a king. God told them they didn't need a king. They said they wanted a king, so they gave them Saul, who came from the tribe of Benjamin. So what's missing in that story is what happened to the rest of the Benjaminites, because there's no way that they just stood around and got killed. This is why I be reading the stories and asking the questions. Like, something doesn't add up. There's no way that if you got word that 100,000 people was mad at you, that you just gonna sit around and wait for 100,000 people to come and kill you. Like, you, that doesn't make any sense. So let's go back to the actual 12 brothers. Okay, so in the story of Jacob's sons, when Joseph was born, he was special, okay? Because number one, he was the first child of Rachel, who Jacob loved Rachel. And again, a little bit of backstory on that. Rachel and Leah were sisters. And so Rachel and Leah's father was named Laban. And Laban basically did not want Jacob to leave him, because Jacob was making him a lot of money. And so what he did was he promised Jacob he could have Rachel, but Rachel was the younger. So on the wedding, on the wedding night, Jacob was given Leah. And when he woke up, he was like, this not what I was supposed to be getting. I was supposed to be getting Rachel, because they say Leah was not as beautiful as Rachel. That's not possible, because these were kin to Sarah, and Sarah was a baddie. So not possible. But anyway, he didn't like Leah as much as he liked Rachel. So he goes to Laban and he's like, what have you done? He's like, oh, well, the younger can't get married before the older. So you work 7 more years for me and I'll give you Rachel. And Jacob was like, you mother. Okay, fine, I'm going to do it. So then he worked 7 more years for Laban. Laban is still trying to change the terms of the contract. Change the terms of the contract. Change the terms of the contract. So then Jacob is like, all right, I'm getting out of here. So he packs up all of his stuff, everything that he has. And Rachel, when they leave, they break her father. She takes her father's idols and break them, because he was using the idols to track them, right? The contract was being held through the idols. Okay, so they get to wherever they're going. Then the sisters start fighting. So because God had mercy on Leah, she started popping out babies, baby after baby after baby, right? And then she's popping out babies. Then they both have handmaids. Both the handmaids have sex with Jacob. All them popping out babies, except for Rachel. finally Rachel gives birth to Joseph. Joseph is Jacob's favorite. Period. Point blank in the story, because Joseph loved Rachel the most. So when Jacob is born, right? He gives him the special code and all this stuff, the coat of many colors and all this stuff, because he has a dream. Joseph is a dreamer. He has a prophetic dream. Okay. And so after that, Benjamin is born, right? But when Benjamin is born, also Rachel is also his mother. Rachel dies during childbirth. And so then Benjamin does not have a mother. So here's where I'm entering a new part of the story. Who took care of Benjamin? Well, it wasn't Leah, because she was jealous of Rachel, and it wasn't the handmaids. It was probably Dinah, which Dinah was the only girl of all of these 12 brothers. She was the only girl, which means she was probably raised by all the women. And so because that was her little brother, she probably raised Benjamin, more than likely, just based on some other crazy stuff. I don't want to, like, this could be a whole nother thing, but pretty much we're just going to assume that Dinah raises Benjamin. Okay. So, and Joseph is his brother. So when Joseph ends up going away and all this stuff happens and the famine and all of that, okay, whatever Joseph gave the rest of the brothers, he gave Benjamin double or triple. So Benjamin always had a lot of money. And because Benjamin was Joseph's brother by blood, that meant something. So he was treated differently, and his descendants was treated differently than the rest of 12 brothers, because the rest of 12 brothers was about to kill him, right? Except for Judah, but they was about to kill him. So Judah wasn't treated as harshly as the rest of them were treated, I guess. I mean, I would assume so. So one of the things Joseph, as a brother, would have told Benjamin, he would have said, yeah, if they acting kind of crazy, you need to go ahead and get on out of there, because what you're not going to do is sit back and let them kill you, because they would have killed me. They left me to die. You know what I mean? If you have a brother by blood, and you got all these stepbrothers over here and they're all batshit crazy, yeah, you want to tell your younger brother by blood, y'all share the same mother, who is dead, you're going to tell him, yeah, don't trust those niggas over there. Don't trust them. Dinah, she cool. Do what she say, but don't trust them, because they don't have your best interest at heart. If something happened, you get a little bit of favor, you get a little bit of anything, these niggas gonna try and come take you out. So what I believe happened is somebody got the word that these fools was acting crazy. Most of the tribe probably just left. And we have the proof of that, because in the New Testament, when Paul goes to Tyre, because Etrusca, the Etruscan country was city, state, whatever it was called Tyre. Tyre is mentioned in the Bible 20 times. 20 is the number of the solar seals. So each one of those mentions has to deal with the solar seals in the Zolkin cycle, because it's 20 exactly. So in the last instance of Tyre being mentioned in the Bible, Paul goes to Tyre, and the people of Tyre, somebody has a prophetic dream. The Holy Spirit spoke to them. When he got to Tyre, when Paul gets to Tyre, they were already Christians. That's a whole nother, like, this is just a whole nother thing. When they get to Tyre, there's already Christians there, okay? And so Paul talks to them, and they're like, yeah, don't go to Jerusalem. Whoa, the lady just told me don't go to Jerusalem. Okay. Anyway, he tells they tell Paul not to go to Jerusalem. So what they do is they leave Tyre, the whole town, the whole Tyre, man, woman, and child, packs up, leaves Tyre, and goes to the water's edge. They pray there, and then Paul gets on a boat and leave. And then in the King James Bible, and even in my Orthodox Study Bible, it says that they went back to Tyre. But when I looked it up online with the actual Greek translation of the Greek words, that's not what it says. What it says is that they went in a different direction to be with people who were familiar to them, either friends or something like that, or family really, but they went in a different direction. So they left Tyre at that time and went somewhere else. They didn't stay there because of what, like, again, this expansion of the Roman Empire was coming and they was going to kill all those people. This is how you have the Tyrians, which the Mediterranean is named after Tyre. Tuscany is named after Tyre. This is how you have these Mediterranean, these Tyrian people end up in America, specifically in South America, because it says they immigrated to South America in the thing, in the Wikipedia. It's like, how do you have people from Tyre in the Middle East end up in South America? And we know they ended up in America if they were in South America. So basically, you have these people leaving their home and going not somewhere unfamiliar, somewhere familiar where other family already live, which tells me that the Benjaminites had already immigrated to America and was in America away from the rest of the 12 tribes and their crazy stuff. The 12, these 11 tribe people, they're nuts. And the ones who stayed behind are probably the ones who had mixed in with the other tribes. And so this is where you get when they always say they're looking for certain bloodlines, they're looking for certain things. Why did Netanyahu take the name Benjamin? Why didn't he take the name Judah? It's supposed to be the tribe of Judah. They're Jews, Judah. Why he didn't take Judah? No. He took because his name is not his real name. He took the name Benjamin for a reason, because Benjamin didn't. What they try to say is that when you're in the midst of trouble, you always stay and fight. The 11 brothers, let's say the 10 brothers minus Joseph minus Benjamin, those 10 tribes always fought. Whenever a city came up against them, they had a problem, these niggas was fighting. I mean, if you listen to the book of Jasher, the audio book of it, because it's a long book, I listened to the audio. These niggas was fighting every 5 seconds. This is what they did. They always fought. And so Joseph and Benjamin wasn't involved in that, because they wasn't involved in that at all. So when you think about people always fighting, you get somebody from them 10 tribes. So why would Netanyahu take the name Benjamin when Benjamin is the one who didn't fight? Because he was like, y'all, I'm not getting involved with what y'all getting involved with. Y'all are bloodthirsty. Something is wrong with y'all. So one thing they try to tell people is that, oh, you're never supposed to leave home. Oh, you have to stand and fight for what's yours. What is this whole like American thing now? Like, oh, well, America's our homeland and you invaders have to get out and all this stuff. Like, no, wait a minute. That's not what happened. What happened is the tribe of Benjamin always moved. Like, here, you guys want this land? Good. We're going to go over here. Leave us alone. Like, literally, this is the behavior of people who respect the land enough to know wherever they go, they're good. But if you don't respect the land, you don't respect the order that's been brought out of the chaos. Wherever you go, you're going to create more chaos, and that's what they've done. They've created chaos all over the world, so much so that there's nowhere else to go, and that's why this energy is here to restore order, because order has to be restored, because these people have created chaos everywhere. And that's what the calendar is, and that's what the breathing is, and that's what the Sabbath is literally to bring the order out of the chaos. It's not really a lot we have to do. If we just do the daily sacrifice and literally observe the Sabbath and keep an eye on the calendar, i.e., let communicate to yourselves what day it is, what time it is. That way you know what's going on. It's not really like too much more than that has to be done. And because when you do those things, you're in attunement and alignment with the rest of the energy, everything kind of comes together. So this is how the Etruscans live, for sure. For sure. I mean, I can tell you that it's more crazy stuff than that. But yeah, that's how the Etruscans tie into all of that. So Saul was probably one of these, I call them Tyrians. Saul was probably one of these Tyrians. A lot Napoleon was one of these Tyrians. Geronimo was one of these Tyrians. Based on the location, I know that ties into my genealogy too. like, or my cosmic genealogy, like on a much a physiognomy or whatever, the facial structure, I'm tied into those same different regions too. It's like, what, how does this even go together? Like, I couldn't figure it out, but I'm like, oh, this is why. Because, and Tyrian, just to wrap this up with a bow, the Etruscan language sounds a lot like Russian. It sounds like Russian to me. Sounds like Russian. So, just to tie it all together, this is why they want us, America, fighting with Russia, because literally those are also Etruscans.
Wow. Yeah, this is great.
2 days, no, 3 days. We talked on Tuesday. I put this whole thing together in 3. This is impossible. There's no way. This is normal. A normal amount of information. It's just not. It's crazy. So that means we're going to be moving really fast. And when you're moving through this much information this fast, you have to stay grounded in yourself, because you could totally lose yourself in all of this stuff.
Yeah,
This is two
because
totally vast topics. The whole Egyptology stuff and all the Etruscan stuff literally like converging in one point. If I wasn't firm in where I'm supposed to be in this timeline, it would be very easy to be lost. Very easy.
for sure. And I think those three things that you mentioned help to keep us grounded and aligned to the chaos that
Right.
is happening around us, to the chaos that is going to continue to intensify. Because like um
They want the chaos. They love the chaos because they think they can control it. But see, when the chaos starts to be uncontrollable, they're going to have to come to us.
right.
They're not going to have a
Uh-huh.
choice.
Yeah, of course.
Imagine thinking you can control the chaos. I mean, something's wrong with these people.
I mean, they had a good track record, so I could understand why there's still, I mean, although I think at this point, for anyone that's really involved, I would be sweating if I was them, for sure. Like
Sweating, but they
I would
are.
not be I would not be very confident in what's going on.
They are sweating bullets. That's why they're telling you, if you get a message from Atlas 3i, that's fine, but don't send any messages to Atlas 3i. What don't they want us to send? See, this is the thing. The daily sacrifice has to deal with me verbally saying into the ley line the calendar. Why wouldn't they want me to send that information to Atlas 3i? I take it personally. Why wouldn't they want me to tell Atlas 3i what day it is, what time it is, what year it is, what season it is? What phase of the moon we're in? Why wouldn't they want me to tell them that? I don't know. I don't see what the problem is. Except if they're lying to the entire universe, broadcasting all the way out with their weird frequencies, i.e., being in 440 instead of 432, that everything is okay. Hey, everything's okay on Earth. Don't come and check on us. We're doing great. And it's like, but you have the people like me and like my friend screaming and hollering, no, they're lying. We're in here. Come get us. Come
SOS.
save us. Like, exactly. And that's what we're doing. And what are they broadcasting out? No, everything's fine. No, it's not fine. Come check on us. We're not good. We are not good. And literally that's what they don't want us broadcasting. That we're not good here. Everything's not good. Things are messed up. We need help. SOS. Come save us. Like, we can't. So this is again another part of this whole thing that's so insidious, is that they have people thinking two things that sound opposite and are both wrong. They tell people, oh, Jesus is coming to save you, don't worry, he's coming to get you. And one group of people, and another group of people, they tell them nobody's coming to save you, give up and die. Right? Both of these things are wrong. The truth of the matter is, Ra is coming to save us, and Ra is the sun. Ra is the sun. Ra becomes the sun, and it's not a he, it's a her. So because they got people waiting on Jesus, and telling other people to kill themselves and die, nobody's expecting the sun, the actual feminine energy, the mother energy of the sun, to come and save us. So both of them are lying. Like, both of those positions are wrong. Someone is coming to save us. It's just not Jesus, it's the sun. And it's not just the sun, it's Ra specifically. Because in the beginning, that story I told you, Atum sent out his eye, which was the light, which was the sun, to rescue Shu and Tefnut. That's literally what happened. And so, as a result, that's who's coming to save us. The same one who was sent out to save.
Hey, Pop.
Hey, Mama. Okay. I'm on board. Oh my gosh. The same one who was sent out to save Shu and Tefnut is the same one who was sent out to save us. It was the sun. That's why, if you look at the Schumann resonance, it ain't doing too much. It's very, very calm. And I can't believe people haven't noticed it. This is supposed to be the height of the solar cycle. And the sun is not behaving the way it's supposed to. Why? Because we got it under control now. We were reunited with our Father. And therefore, the sun can take a break. What, you're supposed to work like a dog all day, every day for these people? No, we got it now. We got the. That's why, again, the new cycle starts on December the 1st. She could take a break. She can literally have a break because we got the calendar. We got the calendar. We know about the breathing. We got all this little. These are like the little details you have to know to make everything work. And whatever else we need to know, we'll know it by the 1st of December. I don't know what else needs to be known. We'll know it by the 1st of December. Everything is going to be like, it's going to be smooth running. The sun does not have to be aggressive when the humans are doing well. The sun, because after a while, right, Atum stops being the creator god, and he passes the crown down to Shu and Tefnut. And basically, Shu and Tefnut run the earth all the way through the golden age. Everything was in perfect balance, everything was in perfect harmony, and there were no problems. That was what the golden age was. And the golden age lasted for 400, 500, we don't even know how long, millennia. It lasted for a long time. And when it stopped, the golden age stopped, it was because the feminine energy, which is Tefnut, she got really upset. And that's where you pick up with the Adam and Eve and Lilith story. This is where parts of that Bible story start to come in, because she got really upset with Shu, because if you're in masculine dry energy and you're a feminine wet energy, you can be so dry that you dry out the moisture of the feminine. And that's basically what he was doing with his, anyway, that we had to get to that part of the story later. But they had a problem. Let's just say they had a problem, and she left. And when she left, that's when they had the first famine, because she took all the moisture from the land with her. People started to suffer and all of that. So that ties into that. We were talking about the famine and the famine being an entity and all of that, a few weeks ago. So it ties into all of that. Again, I just found this stuff out. I haven't had a chance to put the whole story together, but it's clearly, again, all the research that I've done, with the same way I started this is the same way I have to end this. So basically, all the research I've done for the last 3 years, and I was like, what does this have to do with anything? I now basically understand all of it. I'm reviewing videos from 3 years ago, like my Operation Elvira, and all of I forgot about all of that, like the details and stuff I had thrown into the videos. And I'm like, I was talking about this 3 years ago? That's crazy. 3 years later, I'm like, oh, now I know why. I didn't know why 3 years ago. I didn't know why 3 years ago I had to make videos. Now I understand. Literally, I translated my name into Etruscan. This is another crazy. And I translated my name into the Etruscan language. My last name literally means sound. I come from the sound. I am a sound person. So that means I have to make a sound. So me being in sound energy, crying out, hey, it's not good down here, we got a problem, is literally what caused the universe to react. Like literally, we all have a thing, right? Like it's not just me. It's just I did the thing. I didn't just think the thing and say, "Oh, well, maybe I'll just
Yeah, hopefully it
sit
gets
back and
better.
wait for." Right, right. I did the thing. You know what I mean? So that's very, a lot of people don't do what they have to do, what they're called to do, what they're born to do, because of the way that this matrix works. But when we do, then everything comes into play. And you can do that when you're breathing as well, when you're, when you're functioning at your highest capacity to function.
Yeah, people are just they're just so fixated on, "Oh, what are other people gonna think? Oh, what are other
Right,
people gonna say? I gotta fit in, I gotta do this." Like, I know a lot of people that, like, are very powerful, but they're not. And they're not
right,
because, like, it's this obsession of, like, I don't wanna step on anyone's toes, like, I just wanna be popular in terms of, like, what is popular in the I mean, it's this very slave-like mentality of not
yeah,
understanding that, like, to be powerful, you're gonna have to, the ironic thing is, to be powerful, you're gonna have to create chaos. But in a reality where it is already full of chaos, the chaos is actually order. It just looks
right.
like chaos because um, order
There's no light.
is
There's
not
no light.
yeah,
Once you add light, it's not chaos anymore. Once
right.
you have light, that's what happened. The eye of Ra was a light. It went out through the chaos, and all of a sudden, the chaos wasn't chaos no more.
Mm,
And I just had this conversation with my daughter last night because she wants to be a writer. And I've been telling her for a long time, why aren't you making videos? Why aren't you doing a podcast? Why aren't you writing? And she's like, well, you're just going to tell me that I'm making excuses. I'm like, no, I'm not. But what I'm going to tell you is this: I don't like doing the work to be a singer. Like all those breathing exercises and all that stuff I did in high school and 12-hour days every day for 4 years. I didn't like doing that. I didn't have a choice though. I had to do it. There's nothing that was going to stop me from being a singer. Absolutely nothing. And I did it. Just like when I wanted to be a mother since I was 13. Nothing could, I didn't want to do all the work to be a mother. Like it's very difficult and it's scary and you don't know exactly what's going to happen and whatever. But I could not be a mother. There's no way I could not be a mother. I couldn't, even if I tried, I couldn't do it because it's in me. It's not on me. It's a passion that you have that you can't be separated from. And I feel like a lot of young people, they don't have that passion, that thing that they just have to do. And I also feel like that's a part of the programming because if they don't get to, if they can keep these Gen Zers from getting to their passion, then they can siphon off their gifts. It's more about keeping them from keeping the ability to siphon off their gifts more than allowing them to get to their passion. And that's what it seems like to me. I mean, they've done this with every generation, but since my kid is about to go off into the world, it's like this is what it feels like. Like what they're passionate about is not nothing to be passionate about.
yeah, and I think what because and if you ask a kid, like, "What are you passionate about?" They don't know. At least
No, they don't.
they're not, like, aware of what that even means.
Or it's
Um,
money.
yeah,
Or
right,
it's
which,
money.
again, is like, "Okay, that's great, so how are you gonna make it? How are you gonna do it?"
Right.
You know? And I think the real question to ask, but also to kind of get involved with, especially with both ourselves individually, but also with the youth is, um, it goes back to love. It goes back
Right.
to, like, really inculcating the importance of loving oneself and really, like, delineating, well, what does that look like? What does
Right.
what does that look like in your life? What does it look like in my life? What does it look like in the lives of others? Because if you can get clear in terms of how to love yourself, and it's it's like day to day, how can we implement more habits or just techniques to love ourselves? If we help this for the youth, what's going to happen is the more they love themselves, the more that curiosity is going to come back and just
Right.
be magnified. The more they're going to then figure out, I'm passionate about this.
Right.
But because that's not the case, at least from my own experience when I was young, um, even though I would say in general I always had a very high level of self-love, but definitely was highly corrupted and disrupted when I was young, was I tried all sorts of things. I did
Mm.
lacrosse, I did basketball, I did golf, I did soccer, I did hockey. Well, I didn't do hockey, but I did skating, but I was gonna do hockey, and then my parents were like, we're gonna spend a couple $100 to get the gear. Like, are you really actually serious about hockey? And I was like, you know what? Maybe not.
Wow.
I did, piano. No, now I didn't take many lessons. I did guitar. I did take some lessons there. So, I did all sorts of stuff because I didn't know. Now, obviously,
Mm.
it was interesting, but I didn't know what I was passionate about. And because of that, like, I almost kind of just like, I didn't really care. I didn't really care. Like, I was just a zombie in many ways, just
Right.
going through the motions of going to high school. Okay, well, everyone says I'm going to go to college. So, I got to take the SATs and I got to look for the college. And then when I got to college, that was when I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is this? What's going on here? Whoa. Like, what the fuck is going on here? And that was when it was less about I got to figure out how to love myself and more I got to figure out how to not be completely consumed by whatever the fuck this
Right.
machine is. And so it
Right.
was pure survival at that point. It wasn't just that I was like, oh, I got to love myself. No, it was pure survival in terms of like, I know if I keep heading in this direction, my only option is like join some corporate company and like what? Just work there and try to save up some money, maybe have a family. Like, I mean, just where I saw that I was headed if I kept going down that path was going to be pure hell. So
Right.
what I had to do to in this survival moment was um figure out how to um like separate myself from the rest in terms of building a skill set that I felt was going to be enough to prepare me for the world. And that somehow, I don't even know how it came about in terms of like how I decided that it was energy. And then as I
Mm.
started to do that, then the passion came about for the energy. Like, it wasn't until I got really deep into, well, the big thing that I was actually my passion was like ruling the world. And it wasn't that I
Oh my
wanted to rule the
gosh.
world, it was that I wanted to understand how they were doing it. How the
Right.
fuck did they
Right.
convince me to get stuck in this system? How did they build, if they were able to get me, they're getting everyone else. So how is this system built? I want to understand exactly how the machine was able to be built. And then as I understood at least the framework, at least the mechanisms, then I was like, okay, now I'm going to build myself up so that that never happens again, so that I don't fall prey to the machine, which was
Right.
the whole energy thing. And then that ended up becoming my passion because for me, I think the thing that was most passionate for me was freedom, was sovereignty. So it's like I think going back to the main point is I think it's really themes that we're passionate about. It's not
Right.
necessarily like a specific thing. It's these themes. So for me, maybe sovereignty is a theme,
Right.
independence, um, maybe health or whatever the heck it is. But it's themes that if you start talking to me about those themes, I get excited. I get
Right.
interested. I get really curious about it because those speak to me. And it's very
Right.
similar to these gods. All these gods have their own themes that they
Right.
that they dominate, that they represent. So I think in terms of inspiring both ourselves as well as also the youth is, first and foremost, we got to get very clear on what does self-love look like, and making sure
Right.
that we have the right infrastructure. And I think that's really what you're talking about when it comes to the daily sacrifice is I mean, daily sacrifice is just it's a perfect term, because in this reality that we're currently living in, to love yourself is a sacrifice.
Yes.
So the
To
daily
stop and
sacrifice.
breathe for 5 minutes is a sacrifice. To say, okay, every day for 5 minutes, I'm going to do some breathing. That is a huge sacrifice.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. For sure. And in embracing this daily sacrifice, you are showing God that you are truly, yeah, you're showing God your devotion. And so
Right.
if we can take this daily sacrifice, which I think the breathing is brilliant, it's a wonderful starting point, is once you're getting your breathing moving, set up properly, on top of that is, what is that self-love habit or focus that I'm doing for the week? Now, it could be for that
Mm.
week, or it could be for the day, but I would recommend more for that week, right? Until the next Sabbath.
Right.
And it could be like, maybe you have a post-it note by your mirror that says, I am smart, I am this, I am that, whatever it might be. Or it could be as you did, I think the last few weeks, where you're putting on makeup and you're putting on
Right.
dresses, or you're changing up your style and you're embracing Aphrodite. And so it's it's doing
Oh,
these things that,
we've moved on to Aries now. So now I'm in like fatigues and
okay, nice. See,
hats
but
and
notice, right?
fatigues.
But notice you're changing. You're changing by the week. You're changing every other week.
Right.
And I
It's so
think that
crazy.
is the daily sacrifice.
Right. Just paying attention, tuning into the inner. It's like as soon as the sun hits 0 degrees of Scorpio that day. I think that was on Tuesday. That was the last day I wore a dress. I've been wearing like my hats. I've got my hair up. I'm like ready to fight. It's like, okay, that was fast. I wasn't quite expecting the transition to be so quick, but it was really, really fast. And it was like, no, I can't wear no dress today. I might have to fight somebody. Like every day. Like, come on, man. I'm
Wow.
not fighting anybody. This is crazy. Like, but that's just how it's felt. It's like, nope, I have to be ready. Now that was cute, when it was in cute season. Now this is like we have an operation that has to be executed. So I'm in operation. It was so sudden. I was like, no, I have to bring some of that Aphrodite. So I'm still putting on some makeup and stuff like that, but it's definitely not like what I was doing even a week ago. It's to me, it's like, okay, somebody's gonna think that I'm crazy, but that's how I know this. When I tap into the energy, I tap into it fully. Like I'm all the way tapped in. So what is it going to be for Sagittarius season? I'm putting my Santa hat on. That is my go-to. It's like, nope, we're doing Santa, we're doing Holly Jolly, we're doing, spreading love, because you said people have to have self-love. But do they even know what self-love looks like? How do you describe that to somebody? How do you um bring that about in somebody if not by showing them
Uh-huh.
love?
Right. An example of this is, I had, what was it? What was it? There was two instances. Um so I had two plumbers and electricians come visit the house to change the heating tank. And I had bought hot dogs. So I offered them
Mm.
hot dogs, and one of them said that he had eaten. The other one was like, "Yeah, I'd love it, thank you." And so I gave him a hot dog. He wanted ketchup and mustard, and something so simple. Nothing crazy. It was not. It was just, I felt called to provide something. So I provided it to him, and then after they were done with the installation and I was saying goodbye, he was like, "Thank you so much for the hot dog. Like, I really appreciated it." Like, it really meant a lot. I was like, "Wow, okay, yeah." And then, um, there were 2 other guys that came later that day to pick up the old heater. Uh,
Right.
and and again, I went up to them and was like, "Hey, would you guys like a hot dog?" And they were like, yeah, yeah, sure." So I made them hot dogs, and I also gave them a soda that I had. There was a soda that I had. So I gave them in these coffee cups, went out, gave them the soda, and then, let them know that in 2 minutes the hot dogs will be ready. So I came out with the hot dogs. They, one hot dogs, like, if you haven't eaten a hot dog in a while, like, it's really a great experience. Like, a hot dog really
It is.
slaps. Like, it really, especially with some good ketchup, mustard, relish. That's what I had. But and so I go into they open the window for their van, and I hand them the hot dogs with on paper plates,
Right.
and just that. I mean, something so simple. It was something so
Mm-hmm.
simple, but that really touched their hearts. I know it. I know it. They didn't even have to tell me. They didn't even have to tell me, but I knew that after the fact, of course, that wow, this was really something so nice. And it was just hot dogs. I just happened to
Right.
have bought hot dogs a few days ago, and for some reason I just wanted to give away hot dogs. Um, and so I think, if we're able to, one, obviously gifts are nice, but gifts are not necessary. It could be just, um, yeah, showing people, like, allowing our love, our internal love, to come out, to blossom, to flourish, and then provide that to the people around us. There was
Right.
an e-commerce kid died, I think yesterday or something. And there's been people around that have been talking about how amazing he was, and how, they look forward to his email newsletters and this and that. And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, I've never heard you guys talk about this guy.
Right. Of
I've never,
course.
there's, this one account saying, "Oh, I look forward to his email newsletters every week." I've never heard you talk about this guy. But now that he's dead, now you want to let people know that you look forward to his email newsletters, and that you were inspired by him. Like, that's nice, but we can't be waiting until people die to give them their flowers. And so it's really the strange dichotomy of, like, it's like, if you appreciate people, whether you know them or just strangers, we gotta show it, express it. We gotta do something about it. We
Right.
can't keep quiet.
I saw a video today too. It was some girl, and literally they were giving her these big giant bouquets of flowers. So the fact that you said that, and I saw that earlier on X, is like, yeah, this is real. Like, you have to appreciate people while they're here. You can't wait until they're gone and then be like, oh, I thought this person was great. And it's funny because I will do that, like, on, like, when I comment on people's videos, I will say stuff like that, like, "Oh, I'm so glad that," like, there's a girl that I follow who, again, I don't really care for a lot of these people because I don't think they're interpreting the energy right, and it pisses me off. However, that doesn't mean that they're not providing a valuable service for someone who is on their level. So I just look at it like that. Like, I am, like, on a higher level, but I like to see what other people are doing, especially now that we're getting ready to go into this offensive battle. I need to know, like, what other people are talking about, because that's how I can decide, like, what way I need to direct the energy. So she finally got out of this horrible situation she was with her in-laws, living in the UK or something, and now she's, like, somewhere else in a different country and away from them and all of that. And I commented on her thing because I've been watching her for like a year. Now, mind you, she started her videos in 2022. When I started my videos, she got like 15,000 followers, and I have like 700. So anyway, that's just to say what kind of people she has drawn into her. So neither here nor there. I commented on her video. I'm so glad to see her out of her situation, because anybody who's in a situation where family and friends and stuff is basically harvesting you and abusing you, to just be able to get out with your sanity, much less like your kids, like your freedom, your life, is very difficult. It's not easy at all. You have to hold a tremendously high frequency in order to be able to do that. And so not only to leave them, but to literally also be able to get out of the country, yeah, that's a huge accomplishment. And so I just made the comment, so I do that all the time. There's another lady I follow. Again, she started making videos about the same time as me. She got like 25,000, 30,000 followers, right? And she just bought this big house and all of this stuff. And the same thing, when she started talking about it, I was like, I am so proud of you. You know what I mean? Like, people don't understand that if you, and then when you say it to people in person, like, I'm so proud of you. Like, I'm like, literally, and you legitimately mean it. Like, I am proud of your accomplishments. That can change somebody's life right there, because no, people don't tell people that. People aren't proud of these people. Like, a lot of these people, they don't do anything to be proud of. So if they do something and reward them handsomely, even if it's basically just with a hot dog, that's still telling me, look, I'm proud of this work that you're doing for me. Like, nobody tells people that. Nobody gives people that positive feedback so that they can feel like they have the strength to endure this, whatever this life is, another day. It's very, very rare. And so we do have to, and I know you say it doesn't have to be a lot, but again, we have to reflect our creator. And if our creator is an abundant creator with the access to all of the treasures in the world, I need to reflect that, even with my gifts. It can't, I'm always trying to go bigger. I have Jupiter and Aquarius. So I'm like, no, the whole community has to be like taken care of. But energetically, either way, energetically, is about making the decision to impact that person's life in a positive way so that they can be successful, instead of leaving them in their chaos, in their disorder, and not doing the thing that they need to push them to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as you said with the gift is it's not about the monetary, although obviously that, is very helpful. It is the
Right,
intention by which we provide. If
right,
that intention is at its purest, high vibrational, unconditional love, whatever you do or whatever you say or how it is done, it hits them. It
right,
hits them in a part that even if they don't consciously continue to think about what you just did, their soul has registered that energy and is digesting it and is basically uh, beginning to move in alignment to what you just provided. To what you,
right.
I mean, it's like a Trojan horse. That's
It
like a
is,
Trojan
yeah.
horse.
Mm-hmm.
There was that same day. I don't know what it was about that day. That day I was like, it must have been like Playboy energy or something. I was at the orthodontist, and I hadn't seen this guy in like 15 plus years. I mean, it's been fucking forever. And so, oh, I told you about, surrounded by all women. It's an
Right.
all women practice. And
Except
I
for
don't
him.
know what it was, but I'm reminiscing on the fact that I haven't seen this guy in 15 plus years. Now, does he remember me? I mean, he acted like he did, but who cares? It doesn't really
Right.
matter whether he remembered me or not. He remembers me now. That's all I will say. Uh, and I just started to like just lather him up. It was I was just giving him nonstop praises, boosting his ego. It was to a point where the ladies that were there, the assistants, were like, "Oh, you're gassing him up. You're gonna give him a big head. He's gonna be talking about this for the rest of the day." Um, and and then at the last kind of the last conversation that I had with him, because it's these orthodontists, like at least in this practice, all the beds are basically in one open concept. It's like an open concept type of thing. So he sees all the patients like in the same room. So all the assistants are there. It's a very interesting kind of setup that he's got. And as a joke, I said, um, like I'm talking like I'm trying to get a discount. And then I start laughing.
Wow, that's
He
funny.
gave me a discount.
What?
Yeah. Like the secretary lady, when because I was at the front desk to pay, the secretary lady went and said, "Give me a second." She went in back into to go talk to the orthodontist, came back and said, "Yeah, that's going to be, it was half the price."
Oh my
And then I
gosh.
and then I talked to her, which the assistant was there that was the one that was, like, handling me. I'm like, "Wow, so the discount did happen." And then the lady started laughing. But my point in all of this is that, like, we gotta be bubbly. We gotta be bubbly.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
there's like, who doesn't love to be praised? Everyone loves to be praised, and they're never put in the spotlight. Very
No.
rarely, not only, and even if they are put in the spotlight, they are never praised by a being like you. That's the difference. That's the difference.
Right.
A, a, a high vibrational being that is aligned to the Lord's will, that is devoted to God, that then praises you and basically puts you on their spotlight, they're gonna feel like $1,000,000. They're not gonna, they don't know what hit them. That's what we gotta be
Right.
doing, and I think what you were saying with the Santa and that whole campaign that's coming up is we gotta be out there, doing Christmas carols energetically.
Right. Exactly. I think the men is more energetic in nature, but the women, like, I mean, I'm not talking to women, but the women are, we have to be out there. We have to be out there physically doing it. There's no
Yes.
getting
Uh-huh.
around, you know what I mean?
Yes.
There's
Right.
no getting around us physically doing the work because if we don't do it, so like one thing that we figured out is when we participate in stuff like I said before, a lot of black people have withdrawn their energy, right? But I've been putting my energy in certain places. And so when we don't participate, the chaos just takes over. It consumes everything. So again, it's about being strategic in what you do participate in because there's certain places and things you don't want the chaos to just take over because that's exactly what will happen. The chaos will literally just take over and you won't be able to um it'll be much harder to recover the energy in there that needs to be recovered because now this is like a search and rescue mission, right? If I said that, okay, all of the spirits, instead of arising to eternal shame, right, they can all arise to eternal life. Well, there's going to be this place has been blown up and energetically, so there has to be search and rescue missions to go and gather the entities that basically don't even know that they can be they've been awakened, they've been called, like
And I mean, for these search and rescues, I mean, it's people. Like, in terms of, like, entities are almost trapped in these people, and how we interact with them, like, breaks them open.
right. Right,
In
exactly. And
some
so,
cases,
and
at least.
sometimes, yeah, in some cases it's people. In some cases it's stories. Like they're trapped in these cycles of,
Interpretations.
right. Like, so for example, when I'm talking about the fact that Benjamin was probably raised by Dinah, I never even had the thought of that before today. I was like, wait a minute. So who raised him? I did, and now I've read the story of the brothers and a million times. Like I've been deliberately into this story since 2022 with these brothers because something just didn't. The whole story just didn't sit right with me. It never occurred to me to even ask, well, who raised Benjamin? His mom died. All those other women were nuts. Jacob was nuts. Who raised him? Joseph was gone, so his only blood brother wasn't even there. who raised him. It literally today it was like, oh, it's probably Dinah. Because the Geronimo was Apache or whatever, but those people are also called Dine, the Dine people, which is Dinah. So of course they will call their tribe after the woman who raised them. Like it's the only thing that nobody can explain any of this stuff, like, because it doesn't make sense. But because I'm so familiar with the energy, I'm just following the energetic lines. I don't need, like, again, this is why I could just go to Wikipedia really and figure out most stuff. I don't have to go all the way digging into all these books and looking at all this stuff. It's like, no, I can follow the energetic trail because I know this because of all of my research. And so when you start putting pieces like that together, then you have to just, again, deconstruct the story that they gave you and reconstruct it in a way that makes sense. So then, like, the Trail of Tears was probably not the Trail of Tears, which I had already thought that it wasn't the Trail of Tears. It was more like the tribe of Benjamin saw these people was coming in and doing this crazy stuff and decided to move on. Because all the other brothers stay and fight. So anybody who is of the energy of, I'm going to stand my ground and fight this battle, they're probably from one of the 10 tribes or these other people that was out here. People who are like, you know what? Leave me alone. I'm going to go over here. You stay there. I'm going over here. Just don't bother me. Those people are energetically are from the tribe of Benjamin. Those are the people who are like, no, you're not going to invade my land. But if you're like over here acting crazy, you've desecrated, again, the abomination of desolation. You've desecrated my timeline. You've desecrated my temple, which is my body. I'm not staying around you because now you have a curse on you, right? You have a curse on you. You have this famine curse on you. I need to go somewhere else because I don't want to get hit with what you're going to get hit with. I don't know when you're going to get hit. I don't care when you get hit. I just know I don't want to be around. So I'm going to go over here. You stay right there. Leave me alone. And that's basically that's why there's this nomadic group of people that in every single continent, you're like, dang, they're just moving around. It seems because now it's time for us to stand our ground and say, no, we're not going to let you cast this whole planet into chaos because you are wicked. Like, no, that enough is enough. Like, now again, the sins have reached the heaven because you have people crying out saying, hey, somebody come take a look at this, it's just not right. And somebody's coming to take a look. And because we're also at the end of this cycle, then the cycle has to be completed. Like, you can't like not end the cycle, because that's one thing that they would do. As I'm reading these stories, they just kind of trail off. Like in the Etruscan story, they're like, yeah, well, they kind of just like all became Roman citizens and then those people just went away. Bullshit. That's not how it works. It just doesn't work like that.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, the ending is so weird. It's like, don't look over here.
Right.
Like
Yeah, those people just went
they just got
away.
absorbed by the Romans. So okay, so you're saying that they went to America after that,
The ones that were
or
there went back to America. I think they were here at first, and then they just,
mm,
when if you're a nomadic tribe, you like to see different places, you just move around. You know people like this. Like one time you talk to them, they're in Thailand. Then you were talking about this, like they're here, they're there, they're just
right,
nomads. They
right,
just like to move around. Like they just like to move around. And remember, you got this 50-year jubilee thing. So probably when they, because I was thinking this, I was like, well, if I went somewhere that I love, and why would I leave? So every time, what they would
right.
probably do is they would expand their numbers. They would go to Jubilee somewhere, and some people would just stay behind. And then
Yeah.
other
Mhm.
people came to join them. This is how they became the elites in all the cultures, because they founded the cities. People came in, they sold them pieces or whatever it is, and they always had the finest stuff. Like that story, I think maybe I was also reading it on Wikipedia too. That story just explained why there's a group of people that no matter where they go, they're super successful. They can do anything. People from DC are like this. Like, if you're born in DC, literally, you can go anywhere and be super successful. Like, you're just like miles ahead of like everybody. And it's unexplainable. You're just like, Dad, where did that person even come from? They're like, yeah, I'm from DC and this and that. And the next thing you know, they're like the mayor, they're running like this thing, they're running that thing, and you're just like, how did they do it? They just did. Like, there's no way to understand why they did what they did. They just did it. Like, at my kid's school, my daughter is like the class president. Like, she just got there. Like, the school goes from kindergarten to 12th grade. She got there in 8th grade. In 8th grade, she didn't know anybody, and it was horrible. And then in less than a year, she knows everybody. Everybody loves her, and now she's the president. Like, how does that happen? That's because that's just what happens. We come into a place, we take it over, and it bothers people because they don't have that capacity. I can get kids, you know what I mean? I can get students to do things that they're not even thinking about. That's good for them. That's going to help them, but it goes against what the school wants. But I don't care. I'm like, listen, this is what you need to do. Like, I know they're going to not tell you the truth, but let me tell you the actual truth of how it works. I did this with one of my students because they were trying to figure out like the whole school thing, and we have dual enrollment and college and all of that. And I was like, listen, this is what you want to do. I just broke it down to her because nobody would explain the difference between an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, the 2-year, the 4-year, how to pay for it, all that. I broke the whole thing down for her in like one bus ride. And she was like, wow, no one would explain to me what this meant. I said, yeah, because they get money when you do dual enrollment. Because my daughter doesn't do dual enrollment. She didn't pass a test. I really didn't want her to do it because I'm like, you only get one senior year. Why are you going to spend half your senior year doing college classes when you're going to college? The math is not mathing. Like, if you want to take college classes, take them when you graduate. Start in the summer. That makes more sense to me than whatever it is you're talking about doing. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And so, but they must make money when they get kids to do this. And so they're always trying to push these kids to do this stuff. And I was just like, nah, I don't think so. I don't think it's a good idea. You probably shouldn't do that. And it ended up not working out. So they're trying to get kids to do this because they get money for it. And I'm like, no, let somebody else's kid do it. And now there's not a lot of kids doing it. And after this group, it might not be no kids doing it because I have passed around to as many high schoolers as will listen. Don't be bothered with that dual enrollment. You only get to live high school life once. Do the high school thing. And when you're ready to go to college, do the college thing. Don't just go to college because they're offering it. So what? So what? Does it matter? No. So yeah, I'm just poisoning them to what they want to do because they get extra money when the kids do this. I don't care about them or their money. I don't care about these kids, and making sure that they're having the best experience they can. I mean, it's already a private school, which is nothing like a public school, and this school is already super weird. So no, don't be doing things that's going to make your life even harder when you could be making it simpler. That doesn't make any sense. And that's what a lot of schools do and a lot of adults do. They try to make life as hard as possible for the kid because their life was hard. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. Because you had a hard life does not mean that you make life hard for these kids. You're supposed to make it easier, not harder.
Yep. Yeah, it's like these grown-ups haven't like grown up.
No, they haven't grown up.
It's like they're like
They
jealous of like the kids, like, oh, now they got computers, they got phones. Like back in my day,
exactly.
I didn't have I had to write cursive and I had to get like slapped with the ruler. And so, you have
Man,
to
you're
do it
not old
now.
enough. They be like, back in my day, I had to, well, my dad used to tell me, I had to walk 5 miles to school in the snow, uphill both ways. I said, Dad, how you had to walk uphill both ways? It's not how it works. If you walk uphill one way, you're going to be walking downhill the other way. You can't walk uphill both ways. Like, it don't, and Maryland don't get snow like that, Dad. Come on, man. Why are you going to tell me these stories? But that's what they would complain about. And they're like, oh, you kids got these computers and you could just word processors. We had typewriters. I'm like, So, do you want me to get a typewriter? Will me typing on a typewriter make you feel better? Will it? Because I don't care. I would prefer to be writing things out by hand anyway. No. Then you had to get the white out and this, and I'm like typewriter tape, and I was just like, okay, all right, Grandma. We're in another day now. Like, this is just how it is. But you're right. They're jealous of these kids and their capacity to live an easy life. Why wouldn't you want children to live an easy life? It's so weird to me. Like, why? I mean, you're right. They're just jealous. They're just jealous that they have televisions and video games and internet, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's just they don't love themselves, and obviously, if one does not
Yeah.
love themselves, like, yeah, we're gonna be jealous over what the kids have or what women have, what men have, it's I mean, it's like,
Right.
"Oh, they're younger, they look more, they got muscles, this, that," it's just a lot of BS, but I love what you're talking about in terms of the Etruscans and basically being the elite. Like, they end up
Yeah.
becoming the elite because I feel that type of energy in terms of, like and it's you feel when you meet a person that can completely change where they're in.
Yes.
Whether they join a company,
Yes.
they join a church, a group, or organization, whatever it is, like, even if they're not like, they don't have to be loud. It's just something
No.
about them changes everything. And
Yep.
it's almost always for the better. Now there's like the agents, the other side, where they come in and it just creates insane disruption, and somehow, some way, like, people allow them to stay, to flourish, and
Right.
so there's been a very intense fight the last few, I guess, thousands of years, where it's like the agents and like the elite, like the actual elite. And
Right.
I mean, I think we got to a point now where, like, even the actual elite have been co-opted. And I think this is kind of like
Yeah.
the search and rescue missions that you're talking about, is
Ooh.
identifying these elite and basically waking them the fuck up.
Right.
Taking them out of
Right.
of 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 the rat race, the fixation on money, or just shitty friends, or just the bad
Right.
environment, whatever it might be, like, because there's a lot of these elite that are stuck in the karmic wheel. They're stuck in their ego. They're stuck in
Yes.
whatever mechanisms, chains of enslavement that they've been put upon, which, as a result, it does not allow them to offset the agents, because then the
Right.
agents infect all throughout reality, and they're the ones. I mean, you look at, like, crypto space. The crypto space is littered with agents. I don't know where the real elite are. They keep getting railroaded. They come under attack. They get ignored. All the money flows to the agents.
Right. Yeah, they have a nice little system there. That's why we have to get people on the calendar, because the elites are, I mean, well, let me just say this way. Energetically, once the calendar is broadcast every day for 260 days, energetically, that will wake them up. Because you don't, the way the ley lines work, and we're talking about like the internet as a method of communicating through or cutting through time and space to get messages to the spirits that need them. So like when we have these talks and then I put them onto YouTube, it doesn't matter if one person watches it, it's in the ley line. So it's in the algorithm.
Mm.
And so that energetically, one way or another. Okay, so the example of this is what? 2 years ago, I had made a video, is it time to retire? Then I made another video. I said, yes, it's time to retire. Then early this summer, I made a video. I'm retired. It's over. Now, like literally yesterday, somebody had made a post and was like, it's time for Black people to sit this one out. This energy ain't got nothing to do with us. Let's just remove our energy from it. And I just made a comment. I was like, it's been time for y'all to sit this one out. Y'all just real. I said this 3 years ago. Y'all are just getting the message now, but now other people, it took that long for the message to get to everybody energetically. So now it's getting to the people who don't have access to the energetic levels. So I've seen how this works. Things that I mean, literally, things that I said 3 years ago, people are now starting to say them out of their mouth. Whereas before, it was an energetic message, like the spirits or whatever was being notified. Now people are starting to say it out their mouth. And I just be like, that's why I will make a post and be like, this is Napoleon's on the timeline. The orb's on the timeline. This is on the time. And I've been, no need of me saying I said this. It's like, look, now it's here. Now it's like a checkbox. Like, okay, now people are talking about it, because once a certain number of people are talking about it, then energetically it spreads faster. So
Right.
I've seen this. Now, mind you, I said earlier this summer, I said, okay, I'm retired. That's it. I'm not taking on no more of these people's stuff, right? Now I'm looking at TikTok and I'm like, just looking to see what's going on, because I only go on TikTok like once a month or something, really, and just scroll around and see what's happening. I see one black woman eating creme fraiche caviar on a chicken nugget. And I'm like, what am I looking at? Why are they having creme fraiche and caviar on chicken nuggets? So I'm interested now, because I've never seen anything like this. I mean, they put it on other stuff, but they put them on nuggets. But it's a black woman, because just even a year ago, if you saw a black woman enjoying her wealth, they would have gotten called out. There's starving kids in Africa. There's people are suffering. People are hungry. People are this. People are that. And you're not allowed to enjoy it. Now we got copious numbers of black women on freaking TikTok eating caviar and creme fraiche on chicken nuggets. This is a huge step forward. This is are you eating that while you're working a regular 9-to-5 job? Creme fraiche and caviar? No. No, you got to be on a different level. Either you got money, right? Or because caviar is expensive, depending on where you get it from. Roe's not expensive, as expensive as caviar, depending on where you get it from. But these people went to Fresh Market and got the caviar. That shit was $80, I think they said. I'm like, $80? I'm going to the international store and get me some for way less than that. But yeah, this is the kind of, this stuff is not, just a year ago, a black woman could not enjoy her wealth. Not just black, I'm sorry. She was also, these were plus size women. A plus size black woman could not enjoy her wealth without having someone comment on her page and complain about her in some way. And I didn't see any of that. And these videos had thousands of views.
Wow, that's
20,000,
beautiful.
30,000 views. It's great, because we need a break. I've been saying we need a break. We're overworked, reset your nervous system, all of that. Yeah, some creme fraiche and caviar would reset my nervous system. I can tell you that. I'm excited just to have my raw milk cheese, and I found some cheese that's been soaked in petite sirah, which I love. So I'm like, I'm just excited to have some cheese. And these women got creme fraiche and caviar, man. What's going on here? I mean, and the fact that, the whole creme fraiche thing is like crazy, because when black people don't even know what creme fraiche is, that's the only way they know how to use it. Man, I've never used creme fraiche. That's how I would be. I'm like, yeah, I guess I need some caviar if you got some creme fraiche. Like that's a different way of thinking. Like in our community, the only people who are allowed to be like that is if you were in one of these Greek organizations. But if you're a regular person working and you're not in one of these organizations, you could never enjoy your wealth like that. You would get talked about bad.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. That's a good sign. Yeah, I mean, it's every day, like the signs that people are taking their their power back is
Mm-hmm.
becoming clearer and clearer, and it's really beautiful to see. It's very
Yeah, it's amazing.
um, it makes our work easier, because in the past it was like, dang, where is it? Like,
Right.
is it really gonna come to fruition? And now as it starts to happen, it's like, okay, great, wow, I have some kind of evidence that it's really happening in terms of at least the way that it was seen to happen in terms of that it was going to come to fruition. So
Right.
now it's, as you said, it's not about like, oh, I called this, I said this. It's about great, accelerate. Like just keep
Right.
accelerating, keep going, because obviously if they're following down the line, it's going to happen even more rapidly. It's not going to take
Right.
years as it used to happen. Now
No,
it's
it's not
happening
going to take 3
instantly.
years anymore. Exactly. It's going to be much faster. And that's what the calendar does. It because all of these entities are out of sync. They don't imagine, again, like in Snow White, you wake up and you're like, okay, what happened how long have I been asleep? Wait a minute, what did I miss? Like there's some saints, the 7 holy sleepers of Ephesus. They went to sleep in a cave because Christians were being persecuted. They woke up like 200 years later. And they knew that they just woke up, like literally they were asleep in a cave. They woke up, they came out the cave, and they was looking around, and they were like, okay, something is weird. So they reached in their pocket and pulled out the money, and their money was 200 years old. And they knew because the money had the picture of, the emperor of the time, and that emperor was 200 years ago. And they took them to the church and was like, something is going on here. So imagine thinking those people are time travelers, right? When they were really just asleep in a cave. Their story was confirmed and all of this stuff. So this is what's happening. These entities are waking up. They're coming back to eternal life because that's what we forgave them, so they can come back to eternal life. They're waking up and they're like, okay, what year is it? Like, how do we communicate? How do we do anything? And imagine we have internet and cell phones, and I mean, this stuff is old, but it's some of them won't know that it's old. It depending on what, at what time period they came in. And now it's like, yeah, if I have to get a message out, I don't have to go from town to town selling pamphlets and all this stuff. All I have to do is get my loud mouth on the internet and say, hey, it's 8 degrees of this in this place. It's 20 degrees of this. It's this moon phase. This is our Zolkin kin number. This is where we are. And everybody just, oh, I know. Oh, that message for me. That message for me. So as we're getting the confirmations, they're getting the confirmations too. Oh, I recognize that. I respond to the moon phases because when Solomon was he called in all those demons to build the temple, he asked each of the demon, who are you vexed by? Meaning who controls you? And each of them was controlled by something different. That's kind of what gave me the idea that it all had to go into one place, because he had all those demons running the temple. They was all different. Some of them was stars, some of them were ruled by planets, some of them were ruled by moon phases, some of them were ruled by sun. It was a bunch of different stuff. They weren't all the same, but he was able to call them by name and to come in to build a temple. Actually, it was really worse than that, but he made them build a temple. Let's put it that way. And so that's what this calendar does. And instead of telling people, hey, you have to go and build a temple, no, just go back to what you were doing. Whatever it was you were supposed, again, go back to your original contract and just carry that out. That's all you need to do. You're not, no. We're not asking for anything. I didn't set up a toll booth. It's not going to cost you, several souls and all these animals. And just go back to work. Okay. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Anybody else? What were these people trying to do with their Operation 2030 and their hard reset and all this stuff? No, they wanted to wake these entities up and tell them, well, we woke you up, so you owe us. We're not setting up a toll booth.
Right. It's interesting. Just final point, but when I began to feed the birds outside, um, I had a pretty tough relationship with the squirrels, because the squirrels naturally, obviously, are gonna also want to eat the bird food. So I would always get into tussles with the squirrels to get them off because they were so greedy. Like they would just
Yeah.
take from the bird feeder and just literally stay there the whole time, not let any birds eat. Then as time passed, my relation, like I began to realize that, one, squirrels are animals. Like, just there's no difference between a squirrel and a bird. Why am I discriminating in terms of allowing the birds to eat, but like not being patient with the squirrels? So I began to shift my perspective and relationship with the squirrels. And as I began to do that, the squirrel stopped being greedy. They
Wow.
they now what they do is they go up to the bird feeder. Yeah, sure, they maybe spend a few minutes there. One, it's usually they pick who gets to go there because it seems to be a very prized position. So they always usually send the mother. They usually send the
Mm.
mother, because you could see her nipples. She probably just had babies very probably last few months. She gets the position to go and eat from the bird feeder. Now, obviously, there's other squirrels that eat up there every so often, but it's like she gets to hang out there as long as she wants. Um, and when she's done, she gets off and they let the birds eat. I
Wow.
had never seen that before. And so,
Wow.
and then now what's going on with me feeding the bees? I've been feeding the yellow jackets for the last month. No bees ever showed up.
Mm.
Then the last, I guess, week, the bees started to show up. Now I have at least 100 plus bees showing up, maybe 20 to 30 yellow jackets. Now there's less yellow jackets because most of them are already dying because it's
Right.
winter's coming. Um, but yellow jackets and bees are actually supposed to be like enemies. They're not,
Wow.
they're not like very friendly with each other. I made it a point to put the honey in areas where they could spread out. And currently, like, they're able to coexist together and
Wow.
enjoy the honey because obviously I'm putting an abundant amount of honey where they're all able to eat. And same with the bird food. Like, I give enough food where the squirrels are content, the birds are content, everyone is happy. There's no need to, because when I first began this, obviously they're living in a scarcity mindset. They don't
Right.
know where their
Exactly.
food is going to come from. They don't know who's providing for them. They don't know what can happen next. So the squirrels were very greedy at first. But as I,
Right.
one, shifted the way that I saw things and also began to give them grace, began to love them, began to change my relationship with the squirrels. And as they started to be able to trust me that I would continue to provide for them, they started to like the squirrels and the birds now are cool. Now, obviously,
Wow.
maybe there's some tussle sometimes, but like that relationship has shifted. The relationship with the bees and the yellow jackets have shifted. So now I'm wondering, I mean, eventually, it seems like the animals are able to coexist all together.
That's
There's
what
no
happened
need
in the
for,
golden
this
age.
chaotic. Hmm.
That's what happened in the
Like, there's
golden
no
age.
need
They
for
said
this
that.
predator prey dynamic does not need to happen. And it now that reminds me, no, earlier this summer, I saw a um what was it? Mountain lion? I think it was a
Holy
mountain lion.
smokes.
Um 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 a mountain lion,
Or a
uh
bobcat.
but I think, oh, fuck, I don't remember what animal. Let's see if I tweeted it. It might have been. No, I don't remember, but it was, yeah, one of those types of animals. I'll look back, but um, was it a was a skunk?
You saw a skunk. I remember you talking about the skunk.
Yeah, so I've been feeding a skunk for the last few months. Now I'm feeding it ground beef every time I go outside. It's right like underneath my porch. Like every night, it's just
Wow.
chilling there because obviously I put out raw ground beef. It loves that. It's never had ground beef, especially raw. It's never
Wow.
had meat.
Right.
What is a
Right.
skunk in suburban America gonna be eating?
Trash.
Yeah, right. So there was so essentially okay. So what I saw at the park was a predator and a prey. It was like let's say it was a um let's say it was a bobcat. It wasn't a bobcat or a mountain lion, but it was like one of those like a predator. Like I looked at it, I was like,
Right.
"Yo, I like don't come after me." With its baby, and next to its baby was I think it was a skunk. It was basically it was the predator with its baby and a prey, a potential prey, and they were all moving together. Yeah, it was a skunk. It was a skunk for sure. So imagine a predator with its baby hanging out with a skunk. I have never seen that before. I asked AI, I was like,
Wow.
like, is this normal? Like, is this common
Right.
out there? And AI was like, no, this is not. It's very rare to see a predator and and um and a prey. Okay, so this is the duo. Oh no, no, no. No, I don't remember what it was. But anyways, yeah, so the the prey, um yeah, AI was saying that that's, like, very rare. So, at first, I was like, "Okay, well, that's interesting." Um, but now, like, after seeing my experience with the squirrel and the birds and now the yellow jackets and the bees, it's like, this is where and as you were saying, this is like it's like animals are also shifting. So, I mean, going back to the
Yeah.
spirits devolving with us, with as humanity devolved, as we are evolving, the animals are also evolving with us. So
Yes.
they're all
Yes.
now I'm sure they have been working together, but it just I never saw it that way. I never
Right.
realized that birds are working together. Like I would whenever now blue jays come around and they chirp. And usually they chirp to get me to put the food out, and then they don't even eat the food. They have all these other birds coming in to eat the food. And then, obviously the blue
Wow.
jay goes, gets its own almond, whatever it is, or its peanut, and then flies away. And but it's like it's these blue jays are really big compared to the smaller birds. It's like it's protecting the smaller birds. And then
Mm.
the mother squirrel, I hear today I heard a chirping. I'm like, "What is this chirping?" Because now my hearing has improved dramatically the last few months. Like
Mm.
my hearing, I can hear it's like my animals are able to communicate with me and I hear it. I hear it. So it's very clear. So there was a chirping going on, and lo and behold, it's the squirrel mother on the tree basically looking at the bird feeder that's completely empty, just chirping at me saying, fill the bird feeder, please."
Right.
And so and so I
Right.
go get the bird feeder, fill it up, and it's what's happening with animals right now is crazy. It's really like next level what's going on. And obviously like I'm leaning into it as deeply as possible because like this is, the work that we are doing with reality is empowering everything else. And I
Yes.
think what we spoke about the last space is where like coming to the understanding that these spirits are not above us. They're not like more powerful than us. They are
Right.
like peers. They are our
Right. We're all
peers.
working together. It's a team effort. I mean, it's always been a team effort. But again, you have the chaos trying to tell us, no, 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 you're better than them. You no, no, and tell them, oh, no, 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 you're better than them. So everybody thinks
Yes,
they're better
right.
than everybody else, and so we've all been suffering. But once we come back into the realization and go again back to the creator, back to the father, then we're able to see again with that light, that eye of Ra. And I even made a video about this in 2022. I made a video about reconnecting the eye of Ra with the eye of Horus. I was like,
Wow.
I can't believe I was talking about this, and here I am. And I haven't listened to the video yet, but I know when I made that video, I said the same thing. I don't want to get involved in no Egyptology because I know how these people are and they're always whatever. And here I am 3 years later. Nah, you probably should have just got into the Egyptology when we told you to. God dang it. I'm not trying to be involved with this stuff. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, and this is also proof. You can run, but you can't hide. No matter how far you run, you're going to always end up, again, ending the cycle where you started it.
Beautiful.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I think this was, as always, a great space. And look forward to the next one on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think hope you have a great weekend. Hope everyone has a great weekend, and we'll talk on Tuesday.
All right. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.